the infamous Turkey Tom.
Oh yeah.
So that'll be fun. We have quite an interesting chemistry. So I think people should be entertained by that.
Okay, it should be working this time around. I am encouraged to assume so. Anyway.
Well, I mean, you can probably keep track of the views, I assume.
Oh, there's people talking in chat, which is enough.
Well, yeah, I mean, people talking in chat, they're
reassurance.
clicking the links. I mean, easy peasy, squeeze the lemon.
Hello, everybody. Even though we're still gonna have to wait for a bit to let a couple fall in. How did out of curiosity, did you ask to go on Drinking Peasants, or were you sent?
Someone, I think someone they were like, "Who do you want to come on?" And someone was like the right opinion, and then they added me and said, "Do you want to come on?" And I was like, "Sure, I don't care. Why not? I mean,
You'll come on to anything, including
yeah.
EFAPs.
I mean, yeah. I'll come on. I'll come on to anything as long as it, we don't get too extremist, which I don't consider EFAP.
6 million wasn't enough.
I think
All right,
EFAP
guys,
is pretty
I've loved
controversial.
This. I've had a great time. I haven't watched the other episodes, so I wouldn't exactly know.
I would never have.
Maybe I should have. Maybe
oh well, I mean,
I regret.
You could have watched the ones about you if you wanted, but I mean,
I could have, but it would have been bad for my grades.
Your grades?
Yeah, because I had classes and exams, and that was kind of the priority.
And
if I might catch up with them in the holidays, but right now, like, because actually grades are doing well for like the last 6.5 months. The grades have been really solid, and I was like, I don't want to break this. Equally, I know that watching your video, regardless of what I think of it, it will probably be quite it'll be quite a drain on me.
I would imagine,
yeah. And I didn't want to get into the wrong mindset before these things, and that I completely understand why you responded, and I don't oppose that at all. It was just probably like I had to put myself first in that instance, and just keep focused on what should be like most important to my future currently.
Fair enough. I think audio levels are all good. Rags, do you want to just like say hello?
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, you're probably the loudest. That's good. That's a rare occurrence.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah, you don't have to do anything. I can control it, thankfully. So yes, despite popular assumptions, TRO is here. You can see him. That's his icon. No one else can have that.
I'm in person. I mean, you could copy me. I mean, you could find another smug British person to take my place, but
Colossal's never going to come on here.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he mainly wouldn't come on mainly because he just can't be bothered. He's always off in some foreign country doing business deals. He's an interesting bloke.
Oh, Fortier reckons I'm lower than you two. I mean, is it really bad? Could you guys just sort of deal with it? I'm putting the microphone right next to me right now as well.
You sound fine to me.
Yeah, you sound fine to me as well.
It's weird, I'm not sure. These things just like change between streams. Like I don't do anything, but it's just like, no, this is happening now. It's like, But
I mean, have you are you streaming in OBS?
Yes.
Can you check? You can check the levels, I think, on the little front control panel.
Yeah, the levels. I look to be peaking around about the same place as you guys, so that's why I figured it was okay. But if not, then
well, I mean, how many people are saying that? Like, what's the general consensus?
We've got. I can hear you. You sound really arrogant to me for some reason. Not by a ton. Sounds fine for me. It's fine. Audio's fine. All right. If enough people say it's fine, then we should be good. So yes. So anybody who's suddenly jumped to this video and is like, "What? They're not talking about the Vox video." I'll just put a timestamp in a pinned comment, so you can jump to that if that's what you were looking for, rather than what we're going to start with, which is first of all, Rags, happy 10th episode of EFAP. We got to 10.
It has been 10 episodes already.
How beautiful!
It feels like just yesterday we stumbled upon this format.
It was what even was the first episode? I think Jared Genesis was in there with was it Patrick Willems? Yeah, that was kind of what started this, wasn't it?
Something like that, but at the beginning it was kind of mixed with Wolf's podcast too. They
Yeah,
were
it
both
was
kinda...
essentially, it was kind of like your streams where you respond as well. It's not like this is new. Everybody else has done streams where they respond to videos, but I don't know. It's sort of just.
But ours
just
are full
happened.
of high tier content.
I mean, the similar factor is we respond to video essays. That's the main goal. Like, we wouldn't respond to commentary videos or something because that would be strange. We wouldn't respond to let's plays. That would also be strange.
We could.
Or political videos we don't really cover either. We didn't. I don't know what you would call that video where we looked at the guy who said that The Last Jedi can't be hated if it's being bought. Remember that?
It can't be hated if it...
Like, he said it can't be hated that much if it's the best-selling Blu-ray of 2018.
Oh, that short one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, that was the 12-year-old caught in a 35-year-old man's body.
Yeah, the first 3 or 4 episodes didn't even have a name, but we've come that far.
So much money.
What does EFAP stand for, out of interest?
Every frame a pause.
Wow.
That should be something that's in the like the description, because a lot of people don't know.
I'm planning on revamping the descriptions and the thumbnails once I'm done with TFA, which means, you know, expect it within the next few years. We'll sort that right out. But I do actually want to spruce up EFAP because it's been a lot of fun. I like EFAP. And as for there's many people asking about not only when will Wolf come back, but will we respond to Eric Taxon's video on Wolf. Wolf's obviously on his hiatus still. He's obviously going to come back when he wants to come back, and that'll be the video we cover alongside.
I've heard it's horrible.
It's the main gist I got from it is that Eric Taxon thinks that Wolf's argument is that if you force a woman into something, it automatically becomes bad, and Eric is like, no, that's bad writing. It has nothing to do with whether or not she's a woman, and like that's accounted for in Wolf's video. And it's not a surprise because Eric plays about 3 minutes of Wolf's 18-minute video, I think it is. So
yeah, because Wolf's video was pretty good.
No, yeah, I quite liked it, and it's not. I didn't even think it was that controversial. It's just like, stop going so heavy on like the way to fix this product is to now make them, you know, X thing, which is never something. I think I go over it in my actual TFA critique that I see that as like, you know, what happened with Phasma, all of the promotional material about Phasma, they can't resist saying that she's a girl and that's why you should see it, and it's just like, you barely even, she doesn't have a character, and you can barely even find out that she was a girl in any way.
Yeah, people like us who don't like The Last Jedi, we hate women. So they shouldn't have told us at all.
That's the result. Why'd you hate women?
It should have been a reveal at the very end, like Metroid. Like, oh god, it's a woman. Oh no, this whole time, I knew there was something off about her.
I knew that we did, like, there was a reason I hated Metroid.
I knew, there was some aura coming out of her.
So yeah, just so people aren't confused, in the background we've just got the video from TRO playing so that it sort of matches what the conversation's going to be about for a bit, which is going over pretty much everything that happened. And yeah, I was going to say, I did talk about the Eric Taxon thing. It's going to be asked again and again, so we're probably going to have to say like every episode until Wolf comes back. So, but at least you guys know who's listening.
I wish I followed this. I do not have a clue. This is.
Oh, don't worry. This is like introduction stuff. Once we get this out of the way, you'll be fine.
I mean, that's fair enough. Like, yeah, no, it's all right. I'm just like, I clearly don't follow YouTube enough about this. Eric Taxon, Dishonored Wolf, and
not
all
the
that.
parts
Obviously,
that matter.
There's such strange connections because I think Eric Taxon is like at least acquainted with H-Bomber guy who's like doesn't like me, and then I'm friends with Wolf, and it's like a completely unrelated connection.
I mean, the only thing I know about Eric Taxon is that he makes music.
He does?
And
oh, cool.
Yeah, I think so. Because I followed music critics quite closely, and one of them that I used to follow seems to be acquainted with Eric Taxon and has reviewed some of his music. So that's like, I was thinking to myself like for a few minutes, like I know Eric Taxon from somewhere, and I think that's where I think he makes music. So there you go.
Wasn't a great sign that like his video, he disables ratings on all of his videos, and he's got a video apparently where he explains it, so we're probably going to check that out as well before judging anything. But I don't know why you would disable ratings in a...
Because he knows that it's going to be low and he doesn't want people to see that, and so he's coming up with some crazy reason about, oh, here's why I don't want to...
Wow, Rags, do you hate women? Like,
yes.
Bigoted bastard. I'll let somebody choose to get rid of their ratings.
This is going great.
Excellently, I should say. There was one thing I wanted to clarify because I read on the other podcast. There was like the whole thing about Force ghosts and whether or not they could like interact. I really actually don't have a definitive answer. I don't know. I just know that if you say that Yoda can do what he can do in the latest one, it just raises questions of why he didn't do it before. You know, like the idea of what does Obi-Wan mean when he says, "I cannot interfere"? What does it definitively mean? And does him talking in Luke's head count as interfering? Because that's kind of what my argument was. It's like that counts as interfering, and he chose not to with Vader. Because, you know, when Luke is like, "Ben, help me," when he's like nearly fallen off Bespin, I don't think he was expecting much more than Ben just turning up in his head like, "Yo," like he did in Hoth when Luke was nearly dead. You know, that sort of thing. And Obi-Wan was just like, "Nope. Not doing that," and I assumed it was because he decided to go off on his own, sort of thing. But again, totally more to discuss on that for anybody who's super into the Star Wars lore. So yeah, that's about that. So first we'll go over, I guess, what even happened. Like it all began with the fateful day that Rian Johnson released his movie, and then
It sucked.
and then I think Tiara's gonna have to remain neutral on that. He's like, it's like,
I don't really. I mean, I'm not here to debate about that anyway. So it's not.
And then I Hate Everything put out his video, which was like, I think it was intended to be a response to the toxic fan base element of it. Correct?
I mean, yeah. I mean, that was the intention, from what I understand. Unfortunately, it's clear that didn't quite come out the way he'd completely get out the way he envisioned it. Definitely.
I mean, when I spoke to him,
But
the main thing I said to him that was trying to get the point across for why it was confusing is he involved a couple of things that are sort of like wrenches in the point, as in like
yeah,
he has some defenses of the film involved when it's like if you're just making a statement about how people are being way too toxic, it's like you don't even need that, but he threw that in there. It's like, okay. He also threw in that he says, so I think it was something like something backlash, like insane or vicious or excessive backlash, and he had like a screenshot of reviews where people were saying like, you know, Luke's character was assassinated, or I thought the film was blah blah blah, like relatively reasonable statements.
yeah, definitely.
And so again, you just be like, huh?
I mean, I think it's one of those things. It's about, like, for me, it was at the time I just kind of identified the overarching narrative. Though I understand that there were details where he should have kind of been clearer, and I've been victim to that too with some of my videos that I'll probably address in the future. I'll try and like make an overarching narrative, but I'll end up like falling down on some of the details. And even though I think to myself at the time, you know, I've been pretty clear here, whether it's the nature of some people or whether that's just the way it is, people do tend to like, there are like things where people will like say, "Oh, so what are you actually saying here?"
Yeah.
And so you know, I think it's I think it's just the nature of being a YouTuber. You know, it's all about clarity. I think you know, it's fair that he can hold it up, like, you know, stand and say, you know, I should have been clearer there.
I remember watching it and just being like, what in the hell are you trying to say? Like, and genuinely coming to the conclusion of like, well, that was a pretty balked video, because it sounded like he was trying to say that The Last Jedi isn't that bad and that you're all being too mean, and lumps in everybody into the same sort of audience.
Generally, I think the issue was that he kind of conflated a few sets of arguments, and in the end, he was like, what he tried to say was basically, the hate isn't justified, because the film isn't that bad. Now, because now I'm not here to say like whether the film was good or bad in a way, but the problem is that in itself is like is a bit of a strange argument to make, because to me at least, like the key point of view for me is the fact that it's a piece of, you know, generally like it's not, I mean, to me at least, to many people, it isn't like inflicting hatred towards anyone, and therefore, you know, nothing like that is justified. And I think everyone like generally can agree that the death threats and stuff like that, it's not.
That's actually where
really
I would sort of begin. I'd be like, isn't it redundant? It's like given a death threat for basically any film that's just a fictional fantasy sort of thing. It's just like, well, yeah, anybody's doing, like, you know, the point about someone said the Wilhelm scream wasn't in the film, making it bad. It's like, why even, you know? Actually, we could address that if you want. Like Rags said several times that why address these comments, and your response was they exist.
I mean, yeah, I mean, one of the things was at the time, it was like, to me, from my perspective, I saw and that I put that argument forward at the time very poorly, and retrospectively, it's like for me, it was like, wow, I really should have worded that better. And at the time, it's like when you pick the comments, when you pick the subject of the matter that you're going to argue, anyone can pick those and argue those. But at the same time, once you pick that, you can't suddenly bring up irrelevant points. For me, what I viewed as those comments to him was the source of the argument, and therefore he can use them in that instance to make an argument from them. However, I kind of like use the phrase like he can do what he wants, which is a terrible thing to say, without a doubt. And I really should have worked out how
Because
to
I was going
word
to say,
it a lot
you're
more
right, but
comprehensively.
obviously Rags was gunning for why as opposed to
Oh yeah,
whether he can.
and I think the reason why at the time, especially from his perspective, was that he was kind of trying to use them as like, rather than it was complementary to his point. Like he was saying, look at how bad this hate has gotten. You know, don't you think we've gone too far? And
so an additional interesting point there is that we never actually see any top comments that are vicious. I think the best he showed was like a comment that said something like, you know, kill yourself, and it was at like 4. While
yeah,
and then of course the Wilhelm scream, that's not even vicious, that's not aggressive, that's just stupid. It's like, if you said The Last Jedi is good because it lacks the Wilhelm scream, I'd be like, what the hell are you... Either way, it doesn't make sense.
yeah, and I do understand that. I think for him it was like picking because he problem was he kind of picked a few different arguments and conflated them. I've already used the word conflated, but we'll use it again because you know it's true.
Sure.
There's the question about nitpicking, which is a legitimate argument. You know, we can have that discussion. There's a question about going too far with the hate, and the Wilhelm scream in a way is the question of nitpicking. And
But I don't even consider it a valid complaint. You know, like with nitpicks, I'll often consider to be something where it's like the car in the background, Lord of the Rings. It's a nitpick. It's like, oh, who cares?
I mean,
but
yeah,
like,
I mean,
whether
you're
or
right.
not a Wilhelm scream is there, like, what even? What?
I mean, yeah, it's one of those things. It's not, as you say, it's not really a valid argument. But let's say, you know, for the credence, yeah. For the credence, we give it like that point and say, you know, it was a fairly minor thing to like say that the film wasn't good, providing that that point exists. I'd say that he kind of tried to fight too many points at once, while in a way effectively not kind of successfully fighting the points at all, because the greater question that surrounded his argument should have been a question of like, has the Star Wars fan base become too like either too hateful, either too nitpicky? They're different things in themselves. And if he kind of shaped a video around that specific argument, there could have been some credence. But the problem was he broke it up, as you say, with the review of the film, and tried to make the argument that it wasn't that bad. But in a way, people had already made their mind up about the film on that behalf. And the people who are going to be sending hate messages and so on and like nitpicks and all that, they're not really necessarily particularly they're not going to have their mind swayed by IHE's arguments. And I think that was the problem. It was a very disconnected video. And I completely, like, retrospectively going back, accept that video had its problems without a doubt. And although I do understand what he was trying to say, and I'll always communicate that the best way I can, you know, it's flawed, and I think it was detached, most importantly, in its points of view that it was trying to address.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much our conclusion, because I'm pretty sure that's why Rags wanted to make his video.
Yeah, and I don't really like I don't really like take issue. I never really took issue with the fact like people want to make videos on these things. Um and I think obviously like, you know, that's completely your prerogative. Um but I guess I took issue with just the delivery at the time. Um and I felt a lot of people like asked me like why did I make that video, because there are very few videos that I've watched and I thought to myself I want to respond to that, because very few videos provoke strong feelings. At the time that video provoked a strong feeling in me because as someone who is a friend of IHE,
Hmm.
um and without a doubt is biased to that extent. I completely accept that I have the bias. I try to alienate myself from that, but you know, it's always going to be hard to an extent.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. I mean, I doubt we're going to get you to say tonight that you think it's a bad video from I Hate Everything. Like, that's not really the intention, especially because you're friends
yeah,
with him. Uh,
yeah, and obviously, the issues that I had mainly came down to the fact that that it was, given the fact that I know IHE and I know what he's like as a person, and I know his stances on stuff, and I know that he's very like mild-mannered
well,
and
we found that out, you know, like, obviously this is skipping the
yeah,
timeline a little bit, but, like, when I got to speak to him, me and Wolf managed to get very clearly what he actually felt. He
yeah,
just didn't,
yeah,
he conveyed it faster in conversation than he did in his own video, which is the interesting part, because it was also proofed by you as well, right?
yeah, yeah, and it was a it was decent conversation. That I mean, yeah, I think the mistake was that it happened so late at night, and um and we should have kind of scheduled it a bit more clearly
Well, you know why
and
it
just
happened, right? You remember why?
yeah. Well, no, I completely understand like why it happened then and there, but if I think maybe if we take a step back and thought like, you know, let's just try and maybe be a bit more cautious with how we arrange this. Like we may have been able to get a bit more clarity on the thought,
I
but you know,
I am on board
it
with
was
that 100%. But again, just a reminder, and you did heart the comment. He called me childish, arrogant, and condescending.
yeah, yeah, and I completely understand like why we had that call there and there. Um, maybe, and I'm not necessarily saying like, oh, you know, it was unreasonable, because in the circumstances, like, you know, I wanted to do it as well. But in hindsight, I would have said let's do it like maybe like around this time,
Yeah, no, I think
because
that
we
makes sense. I've always
yeah.
wanted to have another conversation, maybe even live with him, just about Star Wars. But I think Star Wars has melted his brain for the most part.
I think it has, and I think it's kind of exhausted a lot of people, understandably so. It seems such a specifically interesting topic to have such vigorous debate over, but no, rigorous debates.
Hmm.
Um, and so I did not get that much sleep last night, unfortunately. um, and therefore I think I mean it exhausted me. But I kind of gone through that stage now. I find it fairly like back like placid about it again. Which is typically um my general uh approach. I guess I'm a fairly placid person. There are just a few things that will rub me the wrong way, and then I'll get riled up, and then I might make a video, and then I might start making a video, and then be like, hang on a minute, I'm just pissed off.
I'd say that applies to me and Rags. Like, we're relatively chill, but there'll be things that'll piss us off every once in a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was going to say, timeline-wise then, so Rags makes his video, and I did watch Rags' video as soon as it came out, and I was not only happy with it, because I'm pretty sure he gave me quite the promotion, so it helped my channel grow, but I thought he was giving some, less so like this definitive analytical counter, more so Rags operating as the audience, being like, what are you saying with this? And then what
Yeah, there
would...
wasn't much analytical to respond to, really.
Hmm.
And so, like, the way I said this in the two streams, and I was just going to see what your take on it is. It's like, I Hate Everything sort of rambled out some thoughts, and I'm not trying to say that in a critical way. And then
Yeah.
Rags did a response to that off the cuff, play his video and then say what he thinks. So you got thoughts on thoughts, and then you did what I would call an analytical response. And so it's like almost chaos because it's so much inference on all ends, which causes I mean, you know, I think I've already told you, but it shouldn't be a shock to be aware that I think the video Here Lies Rag, Stop Hating What I Like, the special guest, I kind of hate that video. Like,
that's fine. I don't blame you. I don't blame you for hating it.
You know, it's less to do with you, but it's obviously still to do with you, but it's more to do with a different element.
It's still to do with me. I mean, it's, you know, I take responsibility. And if you hate it, you hate it. You know? It is what it is. And we've had this discussion like about this before, like what should we do about it? And in the end, you know, we came to the conclusion, no, people just got to judge it from their own perspective. And if they hate it, they hate it. And, you know, it is what it is. As a video, to me, it was an important step forward for my channel. At the same time, it was an extremely messy, disorganized step forward for my channel. And it was an important learning experience, and it gave me a lot of time to reflect on how to improve my content if I wanted to do it in that style in the future.
I was going to say, because I already know that there's going to be people in the audience who are like, why isn't Muller asking specific? And I'll be like, let's get a little bit more specific so that I make sure that these things are covered. I'll just start with a couple of easy things. So, like, there's this idea as we were approaching the video that we really couldn't tell exactly how you were approaching Rags's video. As in, was it chronologically, or was it that you tried to sort of section off portions? Because, like, we started trying to find the timestamps of his video in order to, like, do a little bit of checking, and, like, we would have nothing to work with because it could have been at any point, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, I tried to follow the video chronologically, and that was the general approach that I'd taken in that moment. But there were times when I kind of called back to previous moments. And obviously, I did section it off in a way because of editing. And I know we'll probably get to the editing in a bit. But yes, those were the main reasons. I approached it chronologically. I hope that was somewhat not one of the. I hope that was one of the less debatable things. But equally, yeah, there were moments that I went backwards and said, "Well, he said this there, and now he's saying this here." Or someone did that, pretty much.
The problem that we had was we had no idea we had no idea what the structure was, or how it was going from one thing to the next, or if we were going. We had no idea where in my video that this was a response to where I was, and we were constantly having the issue of we don't know what I'm talking about, because in the video there'd be Rag says X, and then there's just the clip, and I don't even know if I'd call it a soundbite more than a clip of me just saying X, and we would have no idea what the context would be of me saying that would be.
And to sort of bolster that, the idea is, like, there is a point, and I don't blame you for this because it is a criticism if it's valid. By responding to every single sentence of someone's video, you can miss certain things, or at least misinterpret certain things. That was a criticism I got for my response to H-Bomber Guy. However, it does mean I play every part of the video, so you have every single quote as the audience. And our problem was, we were like, wait, so did Rag say that? And then this became way more of a problem when Quinton was introduced, because he started saying things that we knew we didn't say.
Okay. With regards to what I said, what happened, and I'll be perfectly candid here, was that I wrote out the script with the intention of paraphrasing what Rag said to make it clearer. I had, and obviously with every single thing I said, like I sought to make it very clear what Rag meant. I never sought to misrepresent anything Rag said. On the other, and what happened was when we got to the editing process, I was like, actually, I feel like we should play clips here of these things. So, as you say, people don't have to go and check if Rags actually said that. And
yeah,
yeah, and basically it created a very confusing dynamic where I would say there were situations I tried to edit the parts out where I said Rags said this, but equally there were parts where I left it in, and it became very confusing because I would say something and then I play, as you say, I play a clip of Rags and why did I need to announce what Rags said?
yeah,
And
there's that too, yeah.
And so it was for me. I had a big problem with structural confusion with how I was delivering it. In a way, I did what I thought was the best that I could do with regards to it. But equally, if I had approached it as a response video and clip response, clip response, clip response, it would have been a lot clearer. And as someone who is trying to like go into this new genre, I can completely accept why that would have been tonally confusing and a complete fuck up.
I mean, I would totally recommend just, if you find yourself saying, they said this, be like, oh, just may as well play the clip. It'll take the same amount of time, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Hopefully.
And you would not believe how much I cut from that. I really did. I really tried to like cut it down. Because at one point my audio was over like 2 hours, and I really did cut down what I said, and I did want to make it clear the points that I was responding to. But
I think
yeah.
too, especially because time does eventually become an issue when things start getting long like this, would be the things that you seemingly reluctantly agreed with me on. Don't bother even having those. Just play the parts that you either have contention with or the parts that you didn't like.
Which does
So
bring
that
up a point. There was a strange pattern with your agreements with Rags.
Yeah, I mean, the problem...
You would do... sorry, I'll be quick.
It's okay to admit I'm right.
Your agreements with him seemed very backhanded, as in, say, for example, I hated everything about Rags, and then he said 2 + 2 is 4. I'd be like, well, if we consider mathematics, I suppose you could definitely use that in a context where it would be acceptable. And it would be like, do you agree?
Yeah, I completely understand that. My approach was like I didn't want to necessarily go out to disagree with Rags on everything, because I don't disagree with Rags and everything. And yes, as you say, I could have cut it out, but I didn't just want it to be necessarily a complete hammering. But then again, on the other hand, maybe that's what it needed to be in a way to create a cohesive narrative. And back to my side, I just felt like I wanted to kind of give it as fair an approach as I can and say, well, he's not wrong about everything. And I didn't want, and the problem was I didn't want people, like, when I approached this video, I didn't want people to think, oh, he's just picking out the points where he disagrees with Rags and he's presenting it in a biased fashion, which once again, like I'm biased to an extent. I'm not going to completely admit that. But on the other hand, I didn't want it to go that far into the whole like just absolutely unequivocal hammering of him.
Yeah, I guess.
Or you, even. You're here.
So sort of you could, like, 2 choices would be, one, to be like, I don't disagree with everything in this video. I'm just going to highlight the things I do disagree with. Or, like I said, the way I did it with H-Bomber Guy would be I just play the clip, say he says Dark Souls is a game created by blah, 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 this date, blah, blah. I'm just like, yep, that's true. Moving on.
I mean, yeah, I think it's kind of a situation with audiences. You're damned if you do and damned if you don't. Because if you do omit that, even if you make that sort of precursor, people are still going to think that you're being unreasonable to an extent by not presenting the points that you do agree with in a way. But on the other hand, equally, it does kind of create a bit of an inconsistency with the tone of the video. So I kind of accept, like, in a way, the logic behind both points, but I still kind of like feel that, saying, I agree with him on this was a reasonable point of view at the time, although I completely understand if you feel differently.
I mean, you already sort of mentioned it, but like, I won't say anything. Like, what is your sort of comment on the editing of the video? Like, what would you want to say?
Yeah, it was the first time that I'd used multiple editors for one
There's
video.
9, right?
Yeah, 9.
Did
9.
Quentin or you do any editing?
No, I little fun fact is I've never actually done visual editing. I always do audio editing. So that was a grueling task. But I've never done visual editing, mainly because of a few things. Firstly, because university is very time consuming. And if I want to put out like long videos on a regular basis, I have to have some help with that. Secondly, I've lost my train of thoughts. This is why I shouldn't look out the window randomly.
Yeah, editing.
Editing, visual editing, why do I do it? Secondly, it's something that I really don't enjoy. And that may tie into the third point, that I do actually have problems with visual processing. And I have a tendency to zone out on a regular basis, especially when dealing with visual cues. So there you go. Those are the 3 reasons why I'm not very keen on visual editing, though I will be taking it up once I get some more time.
Because I've never come across it on YouTube before. You're the first person I've ever seen that has not only an editor, like when you weren't to the point where you hire a team, for example. Like I know there's other people who do that, but you've got multiple editors in one video, which to me is very strange because you just talked about tone, like being important.
Yeah,
and obviously,
as you say, it was a tonal mess. I mean, we've taken up some really like you watch my recent videos, Mauler. Like we've taken a very clear like approach to the basics of editing. Like for me, I've spoken to a lot of people who watch my videos, and they say like a bit of you don't want it to get too monotone. So they kind of like it when there's a different style, as long as it's grounded in some fundamental appeal and some foundation there. And so what we've tried to do is establish a very clear foundation and then give a few creative differences and say, that's all right. And the feedback has improved with regards to like what people think of how editors work together. But the problem was with that video, there was no foundation. And
there's my video.
Sorry?
Well, my video was the foundation, wasn't it?
Oh, with regards to editing style.
Yeah, like how many cuts one would make, or what format of fonts and movements.
All over the place.
Yeah.
Not to mention, like I see where you're coming from, but like for example, the one where there was about a 5-second part where you started your commentary while Rags was still talking, while there was relatively loud music, and like you just couldn't hear what was happening.
The music was a mess. I completely agree. And I got the feedback, and I've taken heed of that. And whenever I get a draft through now, and the music seems too loud, I'll say back. I'll say, we need to turn down the music a little. And I've completely like taken that on board. Music was a mess, and there were some errors. I mean, many of them like still did a good job. It was just the problem of combining so many different elements into this new video, into this new style. It was bound to tonally be very inconsistent, and I completely concur with the concerns voiced.
So that's sort of covered the more, ironically, because this gets discussed in the video, that I consider the sort of visuals to be superficial compared to the writing in a film. Like Quentin had a huge problem with that. But likewise, in your video, if the editing is bad and the music is bad and the whatever else, as long as the writing is on point, I would still be fine with it. So I was going to ask you again, just your opinion on this. I tend to I know a couple of big words because I like English and stuff, but there are some words where I'll be like, oh, I better not use that. I actually recently re-recorded a line while I've been making my part 1 because I was like, I don't need to say that. That was a little bit much. I've only got the one because I'm not trying to nail you down on this. I just want your perspective. So you said on about one of the responses Rags had about everything. You said they were clearly perceptively anodyne statements.
Anodyne.
And it's the kind of
I must have been feeling jacked up on my own ego at that point.
You must have, yeah, very 19th century.
I genuinely, we had to go look up what it means because I don't know what anodyne meant. I was like, I could guess, but like, wow. And perceptively anodyne, I was like, I'm not even sure how often I use perceptively. Like, I know what it means, but
oh no, I use perceptively all the time. Admittedly, I do not use anodyne commonly, but I use perceptively a lot. I like the word perceptively, but anodyne, yeah.
And yeah, it's just there was a couple of instances. Like the other one was when you referenced that I Hate Everything had completed his narrative tripling. It was a sort of like
tripling is like
well, it's not. I'm not asking you to explain it. I'm asking what do you think about the idea that like. Do you think that maybe you're using sort of terms and phrases that are just going to fly right over an audience?
Maybe that's a fair point. What we've done now is when I sometimes use some more complex words, we throw up a little definition on the screen. What we're gonna do this time, like the only issue is sometimes we've done it and sometimes been too brief. So we'll try and keep it there for a bit. So if people want to pause it and read the definition, then that's good. And people say to me, they say, "Oh, I've learned a new word from your video today," and I'm like, "Well, I think that's a good thing overall." If I help expand people's vocabulary.
Well, let's do it.
If you make them look it up, then they're not learning the word from you.
Yeah, but I'm still inspiring them to learn the word.
He's learning it because of you in a way.
Go to a dictionary.
Yeah, I mean, they seem to.
That's what we had to do. We had to stop your video, and we had to go to Google, which we misspelled the word because no one's used that word in 2 years. And we were trying to find out the phrase, and that it does take away from what you're trying to say when people either have to when people have to pause to look it up, and if they don't look it up and they don't know, then they don't know what you're saying anyway.
Of course, people don't seem too fazed by the fact if they have to look it up, but equally what we do now is we try and put the definition on the screen in case people are confused. Maybe I should put like a little glossary at the end of my videos, maybe in the description.
No, it's as simple as saying if you want to use an adjective for like harmless, then you could say harmless or anodyne.
Because like if you were running a channel where you were like the word of the day is anodyne, you explain what it means, then you're like, all right guys, on with the actual video. That would be fine. But if you're trying, because the whole point is you're communicating an idea in your video, right? So it's like
yeah, of course. Like I do understand that, and we have tried to. For me, it's like a quirk in a way that kind of I don't want to just be delivering a narrative. I do want to have these things, and even if like in a way some view it as impractical, generally the reception I've got from it is positive. But also I do understand that I could do it more efficiently, which is what we try and do now. We try and put the definition on screen if it's a bit more of a complex word, which I feel kind of helps, and people kind of enjoy it. I haven't received complaints about it, so obviously just because I haven't received complaints doesn't mean it's not a problem. But on the other hand, generally I personally don't view it too much as a problem, even though I do accept that obviously there are efficient ways to deal with it.
It's not a big point. It was just something that we noticed.
I was going to say we can now move on to the big points. I know these are the ones that people wanted to hear, so sure. Let's get it out of the way. So the best, I'll give you an example to work with instead of just some kind of accusation. But the idea is that me and Rags means that we have like 90% of what we have to say is probably going to be more so about him in terms of grievances. Now, there's this bit that you may remember where I Hate Everything says that people hate porgs even though porgs are harmless. They don't even affect the plot. And Rags' response is that isn't it better if they did affect the plot as opposed to simply existing to make toys. You know, be more meaningful. And the example obviously is Ewoks, where Rags is like, yeah, Ewoks are better, and I Hate Everything's like, no, Ewoks are worse because they affect the plot. So your response is, well, I don't know what I Hate Everything would say about that, you know, and that's that could be a conversation, but never mind, then that's where that ends, because that's as far as it can go. And then Quentin comes in and says he finds it interesting, and I had to rewatch it again to make sure I get the quote down. He says that Rags is saying that a film is objectively without value if it sells toys. And then he says, like, how stupid does Rags have to be to not know that Star Wars has always sold toys, that movies have always sold toys? And it's the kind of thing where he goes on for like a good 2 minutes about his history with knowing about the toys and how we should have seen this. And this is just, it's like, it's got nothing to do with what Rags said.
Okay, I need to think about this.
And obviously, I guess the question comes down to, like, did you see this when you were editing? Because you had a great response to Rags, and then would you not have seen Quentin's and been like, oh, that's not really what Rags was saying, though, Quentin?
Yeah, like, I don't want to seem hyperbolic, but pretty much everything Quentin said was either a straw man or a non sequitur, or it was just some random tangent, or it was a flat out lie.
Okay, give me a sec. I'm just rereading the script currently. Because no, I mean, if you want my first response, no, it didn't jump out at me. Because I didn't. So
it's like, to clarify, Rags is cool with films selling toys, I think.
Yeah, I'm fine with the merchandise. Like, and Quentin even went so far as to say, like, the films, like, he mentioned capitalist. He said they weren't.
Yeah, he said that you were like criticizing it for being capitalist when this is Star Wars, and it's like, I don't think.
Okay, I'm just trying to work out what the arguments yielded from. Okay, so Rags's point was that sure, they were made to sell toys, but wouldn't it have been better if they were also to influence the plot? And Quentin says, so the idea of someone saying that a Star Wars film was, quote, objectively, supposedly morally worse because those...
You can say it louder.
Oh, sorry. I was just reading to myself. Also, the idea of someone saying that the Star Wars film is, quote, objectively and supposedly morally worse because there are parts intended to sell toys.
And that's not, as much as you've got the script there, that's not what he says in the video.
No,
he says objectively without value, as if Rags said that.
Did he say morally?
I don't remember him saying morally.
I don't know. This is just the script. So he may have like changed the wording in delivery.
Yeah, he probably did.
Is that his script?
That's what he wrote.
Oh yeah, if that's what he gave you, that's not what he stuck to.
Okay,
Good
fair
job,
enough.
Quentin.
Okay, I'm not. Okay, so I guess it was I guess he kind of reversed it. So essentially, you were saying it would have been better if they'd influenced the plot. And I guess he reversed it and said, well, because they don't influence the plot, you're implying that it's worse because of that. That would be how I would interpret his arguments.
He said that I don't feel like a film can have any value
objectively
if it sells merchandise.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see if he says that down the line.
It's your video, mate.
I'm sorry, and I'm happy to hold up my hands and say, you know, I should have vetted the narrative more tightly.
It's okay. Well, I can get you the timestamp
and also
another time.
Also, the fact that it happened, you know.
Yeah, I get it.
6 months ago, like.
And then obviously there's the one I don't know. Did you check out the timestamps I gave you for the other one?
Oh, no, I did not.
Well, it's okay. I'll just literally, like, assuming you trust me, I'll give you the context of all of it.
I mean,
you know, we have the video.
I mean, I can give me a sec. Are you actually playing with audio?
No, it's fine. Like, you don't need to. I'll literally just give it to you. It's really simple.
I turned the audio off so I'd be able to
that's
have
fine.
a clearer discussion.
Leave it muted. You're okay. So the 3 clips. The first one is Rags responding to I Hate Everything, who said the throne room is amazing, the whole fight's amazing, and Rags was like, they didn't even use the Force in that fight, and then moves on to more criticisms of the throne room. And then we go to your video, where Quentin says that Rags complains that there's no use of the Force in the fight between Luke and Kylo. And then he plays the clip of Rags saying they don't even use the Force in this fight, and then that's it. And I think I told you about this. Like it's
yeah, you did tell me about this. Quentin did actually mention this to me because he did. I think he watched part. Well, I know he watched part of the stream. He said it was a legitimate mistake, and therefore I don't know what else I can say about that. Like you can judge that explanation for yourselves.
If you had said, you know, my mistake, I'm happy to believe you, but like I don't have much respect for Quentin.
We don't believe Quentin because he's a lying snake, is what we're trying to say.
I mean, you don't have to believe him. I mean, generally, my perspective is that it would be such a pointless thing to lie about that I don't see why he would intentionally do that.
Again, because like just an idea. I think that maybe the editor was supposed to find a clip that represented that, and Rags never said it, so they went with that one, and they were like, out of context, that does sound like it could be referring to it, so that solves the problem. So it could be the editor, but then also Quentin goes on a diatribe about how wrong Rags is for saying it when it's like he's got nothing to jump off from. So it's like Quentin could have been like, use this clip, it's good enough.
No, it was it wasn't. Quentin didn't have any influence in the editing.
I thought you said he made the mistake.
Yeah, he said to me he made a legitimate mistake. So maybe what happened was that he wrongly watched that, and then the editor just, as you say, picked the clip to fit it. I don't think he edited his own parts. As you said.
So when he provided his clip,
I don't think he edited his own parts. I'm pretty certain, because what happened was we had to edit his parts in with my parts, and therefore the editors did that. And
but obviously,
therefore,
just to clarify, like,
seems quite likely.
Quentin had little moments where, say, like he would say something, then a clip plays, he says something, then he has his own clip. Would he not have provided some notes, like, I want you to play this clip here? Or was it literally just he gave you lines?
And there's even a section
he must have specified where he wanted his lines to play, right? Like how else?
I mean, I can link you the document, and you'll see
I can take whatever your word is. Like, what I'm saying is, if you told me to provide some commentary on a part of, let's say, the new Marvel film, and then I write out my thing, and then I go, this is for this scene, and then you go, oh, okay. And then I'm like, play it after Iron Man says this, and then play the second part after you play a clip of blah, blah, blah saying this. Like, Quentin must have done that, right? Because otherwise his words won't have any context.
No, because we were following pretty closely chronologically. I can check. I think...
And there is a section, too, where Quentin snaps his fingers, and it's supposed to go to a clip of me saying something. So there was some kind of a...
I'm going to have to ask the editors, because I legitimately don't remember. I'm probably still in touch with a few of them. Yeah. So what I'll do, I'm really confused now. I've confused myself, admittedly.
In like how it was made.
Yeah. Yeah. As said, like I want to be clear that I wasn't happy with the production of the video, and well, you know, I was happy in some ways, but in the other way, I accept that it is inadequate in many of its production values, and unfortunately, that was kind of the output of just it being the first time I ventured into something like that. And I'm happy to hold up my hands on that behalf.
You know, like if I say, God, Marvel movies suck, and then you respond to that with every one of them, really, and I go, okay, I don't mean every one of them. That's like a completely reasonable sort of progression of conversation. The two examples I gave you, the reason I gave you them was so they were so blatant. Like, how did Quentin do that by accident? It's like literally someone saying something and then you just completely change it.
Yeah.
Like, not even a little bit. Like, Rags, you responded to Rags properly in the toy one, and then Quentin just went off on this insane rant that had nothing to do with what Rags was saying.
Yeah, whenever he was on screen, we just knew we were in for a ride to wherever.
Like, me and Rags can't know for sure if he was either lying or if he was just incompetent. But I mean, the evidence doesn't look good for him. Let's just put it that way.
I mean, I understand like why, like my knowledge and like my experience with Quentin is that personally, like I don't think he would lie about it simply because I don't think there was that much to gain from lying about it, particularly if you were always going to make a response, and we always anticipated you were going to make a response, and we always knew that, you know, if that was something, that was a terrible thing to be caught out on. And so yes, I don't think he would intentionally lie about it, mainly because I just think it would be so easy to pick it out.
The reason I started my YouTube channel is that I cynically believe that a lot of YouTubers will just try and convince people of a narrative. Like, I'm trying to dispel them as I respond to different things. I'm like, this is not true, by the way. I think Quinton was just like, ah, fuck it. Like, you've seen the comments on your video, right? Like, those people hate rags. And I think that that'll work just fine for Quinton. Who's going to care about the comments on one of the EFAP videos? Quinton can ignore that. Quinton commented on it. I showed you it.
Yeah, I think one of the things is that I do think that saying like, oh, well, someone's been dishonest or they've manipulated something here, that's a reasonable point to go, because then you're dealing with the interpretations, and that becomes a lot more murky. But him outwardly lying about something, I don't necessarily.
Well, of course, you can't confirm or deny. I don't believe.
You know, he said to me it was a mistake. Obviously, no, you're not under any obligation to believe that. And to be honest, like given like the whole experience of this back and forth, I wouldn't blame you if you didn't. But from my point of view, I don't really think he would lie about that, because it becomes.
I don't buy that. I don't buy that about Quinton for 1 second.
Well, let me ask you this:
the entire video was him. Like, every time he came on screen, he would misrepresent or completely misunderstand, or he would go off on some totally random point. Like, practically every time he was on the screen.
And this is the thing: I understand he's your friend, and he was obviously your guest, and you promoted each other. Why would you ever want to say, yeah, he's lying? But let me ask you this one question. Do you think there's anyone on planet Earth that would recommend Quinton say, yes, I lied, you got me?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Nobody would recommend that. That's just a bad move to make.
I completely understand that Quinton would never openly admit he lied. It was just, from my perspective, like thinking about it, I can't ever see him willingly lie, because I think it's such a bad look. And I do understand to an extent your point of view that, you know, people are almost driven by the predetermined ideology, so they don't care if the person on their argument side lies. For me, like, I just don't think Quinton would do that with that perspective in mind.
I totally, without a doubt, think that he would.
And that's pretty much as far as we can go, and that's okay.
That's fine. Like, yeah.
Because this wasn't like a one-time thing in this video. Again, like, every time.
Yeah, no, I do understand, like, the points about manipulating and misrepresenting.
And Quinton knows that when he says something, he'll get away with it for the most part, because the people who see it first will just run with it, and they'll take his word for it, and they'll go for it.
Yes,
and that, you know,
I don't. Once again, I don't disagree, but it's just, there's a line where you go from kind of manipulating, misrepresenting, especially like, because we were talking about this this point, which was the merchandising, which, you know, you've raised a fairly like decent point about how he's misrepresented that point of view, and I
just wanted to get it out, because
that.
You know this very well, but like, did I not ask many times to talk to Quinton personally before any of this happened?
Oh yeah, but he's just not.
What I'm saying is, like, just to confirm, I did give this a chance to be done and sorted privately.
Like, I can give you credit for that, but it doesn't. Yeah, I don't. People.
You saw his comment, right, on the EFAP?
Yeah, I saw his comment.
Yeah, he's a fucking asshole.
I think he doesn't like you very much. I get the feeling.
He doesn't.
No, he does. This is what we're saying, is that he was motivated to make us look really as bad as he could.
I mean, the thing is, that's why I don't think he would willingly lie, and I understand that there is points against here, like manipulating, misrepresenting, and I completely understand those. But the problem is, like, when you willingly lie, you completely open up yourself to it backfiring, and I just don't think he would have logically done that.
What? Why not?
Because I don't think in his head, he would he would see it as actually beneficial to lie about something like that.
No, I
to
think
influence the whole
logically
point.
there definitely would be a huge benefit for
It's
him to lie.
it's like I said, his
I
fan
think
base
it's
are going to get over it. They're not going to care because he can just say, "Oh, that's not what I meant." They've taken that out of context.
I mean, oh yeah, I completely understand that. But if we're talking about like specifically like with this one clip, then I think that could be a legitimate mistake. I do understand. The problem is you have like lying about the facts and then lying about like what can be concluded about the point. And I don't think Quinton would lie about the facts because I don't think that would be beneficial. What you can do is like make these inductive fallacies where you say, well, because they've said this, they must therefore believe this. That's something that I do completely like take into account that Saul may do. But I don't think he would lie about the underlying fact because I don't think that would be beneficial. And I think it would be
well, I mean, at
easier.
least you said
I
he
think,
considers it a mistake. At least we've got that.
yeah, I mean, yeah, he's not saying you've taken it out of context. He says it was a mistake. And,
Oh yeah, what I was saying is that he could. It's almost like I could respond to your video and make you look like a 5 out of 10, or I could really lie, just pieces and bobs here and there, and involve some truth and make you look like a 2 out of 10. And I think Quinton took the latter option.
I think the thing is that definitely there are ways that you could lie about someone with regards to what can be interpreted from what they said, and I do agree there. Generally, my feeling is that I do not think he would have said like mindfully, especially as it was I mean that specific instance was a one-off. I do legitimately believe that was an error on his behalf. Well, no, I mean sorry, both one-offs.
So the two ones I gave you, the two blatant ones that were like.
I mean, the toy one is like that's different though, because that's him. That's him suggestively lying about what Rags was trying to imply.
Well, I'll just lay it out. What Rags says it's more meaningful for them to be important to the plot, and that's it. And then Quinton extrapolates. How is a film objectively without value if it sells toys? Like that's more than an inference.
Yeah, there gets to a certain point when you're like, you're just making shit up.
Yeah, and I do understand that point of view, but it's when you come to the point about inference, we can see that he's not like said like, for example, Rags with regards to the other example, Rags has.
We're talking about this example.
I know, but I'm trying to, because you said comparatively, both of them, and I'm happy to come back to that example, but if we're like comparing the two, you've got one where he says Rags said this, but Rags didn't.
Yeah,
on
I
the
never
other
said that once or even implied it. Yeah.
No, Quinton said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not. Yeah, and that was regards to the throne room. And then you have this one where it's like he said Rags has said
I thought you were talking about the other thing.
Oh,
Is it,
yeah.
so I think
that's the level that we're
to clarify, I think what you're saying is we can at least see how Quinton got to the toys response, while the other one has just been invented.
Yeah, and that's my point.
I agree with you in theory, but like it would be like someone saying I own a car, and then I go he eats cars. It's like, well, it's still about cars.
Yeah. But
I still consider it a blatant lie because Rags didn't even come close to saying
like, I mean, sure. But for me, it's more like the logical line of this, and that's probably why I didn't really pick it up. It read plausibly to me, unlike the other one, which is just a direct contradiction of what happened. And so I wouldn't necessarily like conflate the two. And I do not believe what he's done here. Obviously, like that, he's clearly willingly done that. But I do believe like the one where he said Rags said this and Rags didn't actually say that. That one I probably would side with him and say it's a mistake.
I mean, you're not going to want to believe that he's like a piece of shit because I mean, you wouldn't necessarily want to be friends with a piece of shit. Like you've got reasons to assume he's a good guy.
And of course, if you wanna. I mean, it's not never a case of if you want to. I mean, you go and hate him. Like I think the feeling's mutual, but
oh well, I mean, I have reason to hate him. He has no reason to hate me. I don't like a film. Get over it. And I know that's ironic considering the whole reason all these videos started, but literally, like, why has he come so hard after me? And it's like, oh, it's because I ripped into The Last Jedi on my 5-hour series.
I think generally, if you want like the reason why, and it's just I think it was because of his original Last Jedi video. I think we've had this discussion before. He just had such a I think he got so frustrated with a lot of people's responses to that, and a lot of them. Well, no, I know this. I know this. I think he just like kind of like really got annoyed by people's responses to his video.
People linking my video to him, which that has nothing to do with me.
And I know, and I completely agree. I completely agree that once again, that shouldn't be on you necessarily. And then what happened was the parody he did of you,
which was a failure.
and he
again reasons for me to hate him, not vice versa.
No. Once again, from his perspective, like his parody wasn't meant to like be malicious. You know, it was kind of taking the piss.
I would love, being as fair as I can right now, right? If I didn't know what I know, I'd be like, yeah, absolutely. But he put out a tweet just a week before he released that parody saying that he's not interested in listening to a pseudo-intellectual British man talk about Star Wars for 5 hours. Now you could be like, that's a joke. Yeah. It's like, no, he's already doesn't like me. He's already shooting at me.
You think it? Do you think it's an accident that you're in here defending him on his behalf, and he doesn't have the balls to do it himself?
I mean, yeah.
I'm just gonna ask you straight up.
I mean, once again, like,
is that what a pal does?
I mean, Quentin is just not interested in the whole. I mean, well, I say that.
No. I'm not going to accept that. That's ridiculous that he's not interested in it. When
I just he goes
when he goes through the trouble of making the videos.
I do understand that.
Yeah.
And once again, like, I don't know.
I'll tell you what he's interested. He's interested in sniping from a safe place.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he's in your video. That's why he's on Twitter. That's why he won't.
Well, yeah, I gotta admit, Tiaro, I think he's in your video as opposed to making his own because he felt like that was a good vantage point to shoot from.
Absolutely, because he knew that you would take the majority of the flack for it, which is why you're in here.
Arguably is what's happening right now, which again, like I said, I have a lot of respect for you for being here, by the way.
I'll take the flack, and
no, you're not taking the flack. Like, we're not blaming you for him. You're his scapegoat essentially.
Yeah, I mean, the way
he's using you, mate.
I mean, but that's the thing. Like, we're just kind of doing our own things now.
That's the thing, and that's what the problem is.
I mean,
the thing.
The thing is, like, to me, I don't really. Look at this. Let me clear up my thoughts, and I'll try and lay it out, like, because I'm getting carried away. Point of being was, like, at the time, Quentin was a fairly sizable channel, and someone who I was on good terms with, always been very friendly to me. I understand not the same experience with everyone. He wanted to come on my video, and he stated his intention, and you're completely right on this behalf. That he kind of wanted to do it on my video because he didn't necessarily like really want to have to deal with it on his channel. And I completely admit that. At the time, it was a mutually beneficial thing, because you know, it was a collaboration between someone I like and someone I still like, and it was something that I wanted to do at the time, and to him it was a cathartic moment because he clearly had a lot that he wanted to say on the topic, and even though some of that stuff is definitely very questionable, and I without a doubt understand that, he was kind of vexed, I think, by how the situation had transpired. And I'm not here to necessarily say like you're wrong about the points of view. But at the same time, I also want to say, like, it was beneficial for me in many ways. And from my point of view at the time, it seemed beneficial to me. And I understand that looking at this current scenario, I'm sat in a call with you, and I'm defending Quinton on this point of view. I completely understand that, given the fact that he doesn't seem to want to talk to you, definitely a point of criticism towards him, considering he has commented on your videos. And what I said to Muller before he did comment on your videos, I said Quinton has kind of moved on. And that kind of got contradicted by the fact that he engaged himself again.
Yes.
And I just I don't know.
You're right, man. You're right. Look, to wind it back down, what we're saying is everything from your end probably looked shipshape, but there was a lot of stuff going on that he wasn't very candid about.
I understand that. I understand that. And he's just that whole thing was just a spiral. And I think it was. I think the really like thing that kind of pushed it past the point of no return was when he posted the video, and I accept that he made that tweet, but chances are he made that tweet on a whim.
Absolutely. My only point was that he threw the first set of stones that were against you, because you said, like, it's just a parody that wasn't even meant to be directed at you. It's like, oh, it was. He has a huge problem with me from the beginning.
It was definitely directed at you. Like, there's no doubt about it. And
like, for the record, I offered many times to talk to him, and he said the main reason is that I don't understand what objective means. Which, do you agree with that? After all the conversations we've had about it.
We've had a lot of conversation about what is objective. I mean, it's one of those things. Objective is different to objective value, and
sure.
I think that's.
Well, see, if someone said objective means elephant toes, I'd be like, I'll still talk to you. I just want to see how you got there, and then we can see what about.
Yeah.
You know, but he was just like, nope, you don't understand the words, so bye. It's like, oh, that's very open of you.
Yeah.
And, you know, you could be like, well, why do you care more? And it's like, well, he's openly criticizing me. And I'm like, okay, let's have a chat. And he's like, nope, you don't understand words.
Yeah, and
that's just the beginning, before we got to this video, which is just like, Quinton gives me no reason to think that he's nothing but reprehensible with how he treats me. And Rags, obviously. And you don't have to
drag me into it. That's fine.
you don't have to say anything to try and make it better for him. We're literally just saying, like, you're fine.
I mean,
there is a question that I think people would love to hear your answer to, which would be, so considering some of the stuff we've brought up, and as long as there's at least one thing that you're like, okay, yeah, that's not very accurate.
Sure.
What would you say is?
It's not accurate.
What would you say is your capacity for responsibility as the creator of the video that he is in?
I platformed him. I definitely platformed him on that behalf and promoted his part. And without a doubt, I share some of that responsibility. The problem was that it is my video, and therefore, you know, I have to take some of the flack. Equally, like, you know, he said what he said, and my position from it was a position of ignorance in a way. And should I have known better? Without a doubt, sure. I should have looked into more of the details. I was kind of like not an expert on Star Wars, and I was like, and that's why I said, Quinton, can you come in and help me with this more Star Wars focused points, because that's what I felt like I wasn't an expert on, and I didn't want to just read a read a few Star Wars wiki articles and pretend that I actually have an investment in it. I wanted someone who knew a lot more than I did. And Quentin clearly cares a lot about the Star Wars franchise, regardless of what he said. And so yeah, I stake responsibility from the basis that I platformed him. I wasn't meticulous enough with the points. And also the fact that I clearly should have known better with regards to what was being said. I kind of just went with it and put my faith in him, and I did put my faith in him. Quentin has done a lot for me as a friend, as someone I've worked with, and I think really the thing it comes down to is that he also really likes I Hate Everything as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's another really important point to take in mind. I think he just kind of got very very annoyed over the response to it, and it just kind of spiraled for him, and that's that, and whether that leads to this, then that's fair enough. That's what I have to say about it.
So in relation, what does it mean to say that you are responsible? What does that mean to you?
Well, I mean, what does it mean to me? What would you?
So,
can you clarify that?
If I was, again, because we're different people, and me and you and Rags are all different people, if I was in your position, there's probably a few actions I would consider taking. For example, at the end of the conversation I had with I Hate Everything and Wolf, me and Wolf asked if I Hate Everything would tweet out clarification, as in, he spoke to us and that The Last Jedi isn't as good as he thought, and that his video was a bit of a mess and all this stuff, and he was just like, don't really want to do that. And we were like, okay. That's completely down to the person. So is there any action you want to take? For example, and I'm literally just throwing out ideas. You can be like, why in the world did I do that? But do you feel that maybe it's worth an apology in any way, shape, or form? Because obviously you could argue that doesn't Rags owe an apology to I Hate Everything? It's like, well, that conversation never took place.
It's one of those things. It's like, I think what kind of riled me and Quentin to up about this, and we watched the video and Rags' video, and we felt very strongly, particularly about the character differences, and we felt very strongly about what Rags said, and then it became a tit for tat, and that wasn't the right way to go about it, without a doubt. And as a video goes, I regret the quality not being better. I regret not wording my points better. And equally, I'm happy to hold my hands up and say, no, I could have done better. I don't really necessarily see the point of kind of tweeting
no,
it out.
I'm not asking you anything specifically. I'm asking what you think.
But what would I say taking responsibility is? It's it's a difficult one, because for me, at the time, I felt like what Rags said about I Hate Everything was the thing that drove me to have a response. And I don't expect Rags to apologize for anything he said at all, because it is interpretive. And
well, so I don't mean to cut you off, but I just want to provide some context here. Rags and I Hate Everything have never had their conversation, nor has Rags had any reason to assume that he should. Say, for example, if someone said, Rags, you've clearly present Rags with something that we could present Quentin with. I think Rags would say, yeah, my bad, sorry. At that point, I didn't mean to misrepresent you. And
and I'd happily apologize for things that I've said wrong, and the problem is it's hard for me to it's hard for me to apologize on someone else's behalf. because that I don't think that really achieves much. I think I can say sorry for what I've done with regards to
I'm
it,
sure that
but
would mean a lot.
there and obviously like anything that I wasn't clear enough, anything that I failed to vet clearly on other people's parts in the videos that has led to misinterpretations that could have been better, I am sorry. And I wanted to avoid that as much as I could with my video, and it's clear that I could have done it better on many fronts. And I've worked to improve myself and my content since then. And obviously, um, obviously there are like parts, like there are points that I'm happy with, and there are parts that I don't watch your stream yet. There are parts, probably points that you probably watched it and thought, that's a fair point. And
Well, I mean, we would maybe respond to a line of dialogue and then play, and we realize it was contextually different. We'd say, "Oh, whoops, my bad." Like we didn't realize that's what they were saying.
yeah, and that's fair enough. And the main problem that I ever
Obviously, it wasn't scripted though.
took
That's why that would happen.
the main problem that I ever took with Rags' video was the tone that I felt had led to a lot of excessive negative reception to I Hate Everything that could have been avoided. And that's the problem that I'll always probably have with it.
Because the dynamic, you could say, unfortunately, is that it's sort of you and Rags, me and Quinton, because Quinton has more things to say about my video than Rags' video.
Yeah.
Because of the nature of how Star Wars works. So I was going to say, like, this is more for Rags to respond to than me right now, what you're saying.
Yeah, and that's fine. Rags can interject when he wishes. And for me, it was like, as someone who knew I Hate Everything, and someone who knew what like, for me, it's always like benefit of the doubt in a way. I don't think I Hate Everything gave you enough to make such character inferences and certain phrases. And I get it's part of the persona now. I do understand that, and I should have taken that more into account. But
no, I don't really have a persona in any way that isn't just aesthetic.
That's fair enough. Then in that instance, like I just felt
like if you were to ask me right now what I thought about I Hate Everything, I mean, I wouldn't think like negatively of him for the video. Is like as I've told Mahler in the past, the biggest thing that I have a problem with I Hate Everything is how he handled your conversation with Wolf and Mahler, and then how he flipped on it when he was speaking in public.
I mean, yeah, to be honest, I believe he just kind of, I think the thing was, as
He
said,
cocked.
like, sorry?
He cocked.
He cucked. I think the issue is, and this was what I said earlier, the fact that it was done at a stupidly late time, and I Hate Everything got himself into a position where he was just like kind of going with it just because he wanted to get to bed.
I understand. It's just that, but he did literally say at one point to me and Wolf that he's never heard such strong arguments about the film before. And we were like, oh wow, thanks.
And honestly, if you want my point of view, I think he regrets more saying that in the first place. Because I think he kind of understood that wasn't exactly how he felt. Not because he was necessarily wrong, but because he was just kind of going off some basic, like, going with it to kind of appease you, and in the given context, that's what I would say is his biggest regrets. And obviously, it's important for people to say their feelings, and obviously, it's important to have that discussion and to actually have a clear conclusion.
And I would love for Rags and I Hate Everything to be able to discuss that, but I don't know that that's going to happen either.
Yeah, that would be fine, but I think that people might be overplaying how exactly I feel about I Hate Everything, especially from the video. Like, the video was just like a thing that I did, and I made it and I put it out, and I didn't really give much thought to I Hate Everything after that. Like, especially even going into it.
Well, you
I
didn't
liked
intend to
it.
respond to this video at first, right? You were sort of just like, your video was, there was nothing really wrong with this, there's no reason to, but then we sort of looked into it and we were like, this is worth responding to.
Yeah.
And that's fair enough. I don't blame you for responding to it. Really, I think the problem was that the video was presented in a way that people, like, as I said, I completely understand there are people who watched my video and made and I probably gave too much credence to unfair character inferences about you, Rags. Equally, like, I'll hold up my hands and say that. On the other hand, like, that was kind of the reason why I made the video in the first place, because what I felt was that you were giving people far too much ammunition to make unfair character inferences about I Hate Everything.
Inferences like what?
Once again, I don't have the. I mean, we can rewatch the video.
Would it just be stuff like Rags says, oh, he's clearly biasly defending it, or trying to make the criticism look more crazy than it is?
I mean, yeah, like I kind of felt that given like given how like mild like I felt I Hate Everything's video was, I felt the reaction was disproportionate.
And this is the thing in the scenario,
and that's what I felt.
In the scenario that we had I Hate Everything watching Rags' video live, and then he picked out a couple of timestamps, he sent them to, well, Rags, and then Rags was like, oh, and then they had a conversation, and then Rags would then have the capacity to be able to, I don't know, account for responsibility or apologize or whatever, but obviously none of that's happened for Rags, so we can't do anything about it. As far as he knows, I mean, it's been relatively fair.
I mean, I personally disagree, but once again, I'm not I Hate Everything. I can't like speak on behalf of him. Like, I mean, this is the thing. Like, having me here is mainly to speak about my video, because it's my video.
Well, that's why I'm trying to veer off it, because there's not much we can do with
like there's not much we can do about it. But if you want to know, I personally feel the way you handled the I Hate Everything video, that was the reason why I made the video, not necessarily because of the like outward message. It was just because I felt like it was leading giving far too many people to make harsh character inferences. And I mean, I spoke to I Hate Everything about it when you made the response, and I think he said, you know, he's never received such a significant amount of hate from it. And once again, hate is not necessarily on anyone, but equally, I like people who've gone and said to someone like, oh, you're a cunt, and watch because they watch one of my videos. Like, I don't necessarily have responsibility for them, just like people watching your videos and going over to Quentin, and it's like they don't have like more. I wouldn't hold you to account for that.
Well, the only addendum I would have for that is like, yes, like say for example, I have no reference to Quentin, then people go up to Quentin and say, you're an asshole. I'd be like, what are you doing? However, if Quentin says stuff like,
oh yeah, no, yeah, of course. We're talking about right back at the start here.
Well, yeah, but like, I don't think, because I saw Rags' video, I don't remember giving the impression that Rags would have said things that would have made people go, I'm going after I Hate Everything now, as opposed to.
I mean, that's how I felt when I watched it.
But
and that's the thing. It's all about interpretation. Like, I felt at the time, it was unreasonably harsh, and I Hate Everything still feels that way. And once again, if you can get him into a conversation, then I feel like he wants to kind of move forward, and equally, I feel like we want to move forward from this.
Absolutely.
Because I had, and then your video came out.
Well,
yeah, but that's one of the things. It's like it's all about getting the final word in.
Well, I think this works way better as a final word than another response sort of thing.
This is better than anything like that's going to be said, because equally, when someone responds, they have the final word, and then people go there, and then when you respond, you have the final word, people go here. That's why I wanted to get into this conversation and just discuss the differences. And once again, that was the reason. And
so just to clarify though, right? So let's say on the scale, you felt that Rags did X out of 10 in terms of a bad move against I Hate Everything. Like, I'm assuming you'd agree what Quentin did back is like more than double as bad.
Yeah, I mean,
And like
once
that's
again, I think the problem as like said with reading Quentin's part was that was that uh he he's kind of misrepresented points in a way.
I think it's strange that he would give you something that was his script and then he would deviate it from it in such a substantial way.
Yeah, once again,
mm.
if you want to read the script after the stream, then you're
No,
more than welcome
I
to.
believe you. I believe
Yeah.
you.
To be honest, like
Especially,
we're
like,
happy
if he's your
to
friend and
sort this
he gives
out
you a script,
with just you. Like we got nothing to do. Like Quentin has made it clear that he doesn't want to settle bad blood between us, so we'll just let him fester, let him do what he wants. Like we don't need to clarify what Quentin's intentions even are. We've just seen the effect and the, let's just say, clear misunderstandings that could be interpreted as something far more malicious. But again, like I would just rather focus on you because you're willing to actually speak to me, which again, much respect for. And I suppose to sort of just to push us a little bit further forward, are you happy with what we've discussed, both Rags and TRO, about this, sort of trying to get it sorted?
Oh, I'm fine.
I mean, yeah, it's fine.
I'm totally satisfied. If
Sounded
that's
so like depressed. Are you
Yeah,
okay?
I'm just it's like
here's one thing though that I will say. I won't, and this was part of the problem I had with I Hate Everything's video. Is there are some things that bug me that I hate to see, especially nowadays. And one thing that will get a reaction out of me are people who make certain statements while trying to assume a position of weakness or victimization. People who
Mhm,
will say people who go boo hoo woe is me, also da 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 about other people, and
mhm,
that's not something that I'll let slide.
mhm. No, oh, sorry. Once again, it's just it is tiring. It's like I'm not like I am just tired. Like
All right, that's fine.
I mean, this is all right. Like I'm not asking for sympathy, and to be honest, I don't expect to get any.
No, no, not
Um,
you. Not that wasn't about you.
oh, sorry. I'm just. Oh, I mean, that's the thing. It's like I completely understand that point of view. What
Yeah.
can you say? It's like I do agree. Like you can't overuse it. I think it's just a case. Like I would love to hear the context behind that sort of stuff, and
Hmm.
and I would probably judge it on an individual basis.
Yeah, I mean, I really have nothing else to say on this because you've pretty much said everything I would hope for you to have said. That
Yeah.
there are recognizable flaws and that you'd like to sort of sort them out in future, and that we all make mistakes. I already know there are going to be time, like I'm going to get more responses as time goes on, and there's going to be someone who points out a huge like hypocrisy set of statements I've made, and the best thing you can do is how you respond to it, right? Like, and I think you've done really you've done very respectably, and I can always respect that you want to defend your friends as well. I'm sure you could have had hours of really great like connection, and that his experience to us is far different to yours. So
Yeah.
I think one of the takeaways would be that from your video, there is a huge outpouring of hatred for me, and
yeah.
I'm used to. I'm fine with it. It's like that's part of the game that we play here.
Well, it was a
Yeah.
weird one
But it is what it is.
where there was one that was
A
like, I
lot
want
of
to
people
punch
hate
Rags
my
that was at like 20 votes, which
a
is
lot of
like
people
weird.
hate my guts.
That's fine. That's fine. And
Oh,
once
okay.
again, like
I wouldn't say
it's.
that's fine.
I mean, no. Sorry, I'm not using the fine as an affirmative. I'm using it as like I'm accepting your point of view.
Okay.
It's like I made the video. My video was kind of done with the right intentions. Unfortunately, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and there were clearly mistakes where I could have alleviated some of the hatred. Equally, that was kind of the reason why I felt I wanted to make the video in the first place, because I'd seen some quite interesting comments made against I Hate Everything on the basis of his video, and it kind of and given the tone of the video of Rags, this is video, I kind of understood, I kind of saw how how one could have led to the other, and equally I should have probably maybe focused more on that, and I understand the once again there were things that said in my video that that kind of made it just as bad, and even worse.
I was,
And I'll
uh,
happily hold my hands up on that. But on the other hand, like I still do take significant issue with the delivery of the video. But that's like not something that can necessarily be resolved with me.
So there's just one more thing I'll get out then, which is that you know my content well enough to know that the biggest thing that people will use against me is going to be, Mauler is an elitist who thinks that the whole objective thing is just a smokescreen. He uses it to argue that his opinions are definitive while everyone else's aren't valid. Like, that's the typical response I'll get from many people, which is fine, because, like, how could I not? That's a very... It's a very good start to try and wedge a criticism into my work, because it's like, oh yeah, he does say objective. That's probably true. So someone like Quinton, I would expect to make that video, and I would just be like, yeah, well, I can just discredit that. But like, the unfortunate thing is, people were making those comments with very high upvotes, and I don't even blame them, because Quinton says as much in your video, and it's just like, damn it, that comes from TRO, who I actually really like. Like, and that's my unfortunate position, because it's just like, that video will serve to be a lightning rod for people who hate my work. They'll go there, and then they'll be like, yeah, Mueller is a piece of shit who thinks blah, 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 blah. And again, I'm not saying, therefore, you need to do X, Y, Z. All I would say is, like, maybe throw a word in somewhere in some video, even a Q&A, maybe. It would be cool, like, just so that there's something referenceable. Obviously, this video could work as a referenceable thing. It would be awesome if you said that
Yeah.
I don't necessarily do that in my analysis stuff.
I mean, I had a Q&A. Kind of didn't quite touch on that. I was going to make a follow-up video where I cover some of my more controversial videos, that one being one of them. And I'll
I heard
probably
at
say
one
a bit more
point.
there.
I heard at one point you were considering taking your video down.
Yeah, no, what happened was I was in a really bad mood that morning. And someone messaged me about some stuff, and I was just like, fuck that. Um, and then I considered it, and then I was like, no, I won't. It was more it was one of those things that kind of done. It was reactionary, um, and yes, I was actually going to do a follow up where I clarified the points I made, because it was clear that there were things that were said that didn't come across the way I wanted them to. And I had been planning that I had planned that probably even to do before your stream came out, but there were just a few too many other topics that I wanted to cover first. So yeah, that'll probably be when it's covered. There's nothing that I can really like put into the space of a tweet that would summarize my thoughts on that video, on my own video. But without a doubt, there are things that I could do better, and I'll probably address them in the future.
Yeah, literally, I wouldn't even be asking this if not for the fact that I like you and I'm friends with you, and so it'd just be like, it would be so good if it would stop being used typically without any stronger reason, because this is the thing, you don't say it, it's not you saying it, it's just the guy in your video who says it, so people use your video to do it, and so it would just be awesome if there was some kind of, just by the way, this is...
Of course, and I'll clarify that, and I'll definitely make sure that it's addressed,
Sure,
without a doubt.
I
And I have been kind of waiting on it. But I thought I'd get the stream out the way first before we do that, just so I can get some clarity on feelings from people. And yeah, I don't know what else to say.
well, I mean, I'll say what I've got for closing, and then obviously Rags could as well if he wants to, but I just have a lot of respect for you to come on, because it's not easy, especially with not only a 2 against 1, but you're also at a disadvantage because you haven't seen all of your video recently, nor have you seen responses recently.
Yeah.
And you're having to defend potentially 2 other people, one who really is bloody hard to defend, like you've got not much to work with. So again, thank you for coming on, and of course, I'm pretty sure me and you will be friends for a long time with ease, just because of the way you comport yourself, if that's the correct word. I'd have to Google it.
Yes, and if there's any impression otherwise, I don't really know anything about you. I'm pretty neutral towards you. I don't hate you or dislike you or anything.
Okay.
Excellent.
I mean, that's great. I'll take that as a win.
And so from there, would you guys like to check out a different video to sort of, I'd say bring this down a bit instead of being more so about a potential drama? You know what I mean?
Well, sure.
Yeah, sure.
So
We'll
that would
check
mean,
out this Vox nonsense.
and I just accidentally made it so now I can't see any of the super chats. Yay! Is there a way to get that back up? Do you guys know if there is a way? I accidentally refreshed the page, so.
To get, well, on your stream page, yeah, on like your stream info page at the bottom, there should be a list of the super chats.
Yeah, that's
that
where
you
they
get.
were, and then I refreshed, and now it's blank. So.
Huh.
It's like,
then it should be. It'll be on like a community tab or a channel tab, but it'll have. It does keep all your super chats there. Let me actually go and click and see if I can find it. If you go to my channel, then go to don't go to.
oh, community super chat. I think I can see it.
Yeah, something like that. There should be an option there. Maybe
Excellent. I can see what I assume is them. Oh wait, October 17th. That's not what I'm looking for. 26th. Does it go up? Yes, it does. Excellent. Okay. Well, if either of you want to go to the toilet or do anything, I'm going to try and get through these quickly because people have obviously been saying things and we've been an hour and a half in. So I'm going to try and.
I'm gonna use the loo.
Very well. You see, some of these I read them and then I'm just like, what was the context? It says, "Slap my hand, friends." It's like, very well.
Yeah.
On board. Another recommendation for Rags and Wolf, tell him I said hi, is Gundam Thunderbolt. Both films are on Gundam Info. There's been a lot of Gundam recommendations. I hope that people go with them, but obviously when, I'll say it like honestly now, when people recommend things, as a creator, you'll probably at best put it in a list, but you'll have so many recommendations that it's tough to get through. I'm watching you, EFAP. Beautiful. Good to see you all being friends. That is the hope and goal, and I genuinely think if time was rewound all the way to the point where I had everything was about to make his video, I think everything would have gone differently with how everybody's done everything now. Which is arguably very interesting. Metal Gear Solid is a better movie than The Last Jedi. Fair enough. Respect for TRO for being chill and debating. I agree wholeheartedly. Spider-Man 3 is a better movie than The Last Jedi. Am I going to get a lot of those? I'm going to miss the stream, but you bet I'll watch the archive. Hope it's a good conversation. TRO's a pretty cool dude. Excellent. Good job, TRO. Glad you're having a calm and eventful debate with Rags and Mauler. Much better than some guy I know. Oh yeah, Major Lee, who doesn't like me as well. I have a lot of enemies. I think I've told you about this. Ray Starkiller, my own theory for episode 9. That's a fair one. Pulp Fiction is better than Star... GTA San Andreas is better than Last Jedi. Here be $5, don't use it all in one place, guys. Yes. Hi, TRO. What does narrative tripling mean? And
narrative tripling, tripling, I used it, if I recall, in the context of, a really good example is the good, the bad, and the ugly. I think that's what it means. I'm a bit off the game now. I've kind of switched off slightly, but that's what I probably used it in the context tripling. It's quite a common thing because it's gives it more power in the moment. It's
because we googled it and we couldn't find anything for narrative tripling.
Oh, well, that's probably because I put narrative before it, which was a stupid thing to say. But tripling, I think you could probably it's tripling or power of 3. That's
like
the
rule of 3 or something like that as well. I know what you mean. 3's often
it's
effective.
Gives it more.
It's not too much. It's not too little. Just kind of the right amount for your brain to.
Yeah, exactly. It's a popular rhetorical device.
And then the follow up was Mole and Rags. I'm gonna fanboy. Stoked for more content from you, Rags. Can't wait for that epic TFA review. Do you wanna say any comment about upcoming content, Rags?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll give you a second. TRO, it would be an honor if you would join us. Do you know that reference?
And
this, folks, is why he had to bring someone in for Star Wars.
yeah. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not an expert.
Nick was asking, what are you studying?
I'm studying politics, philosophy, and international law with a minor in psychology.
You interested in becoming Superman? Is that the overall goal? Or?
Oh God, I'm interested. Not doing nothing with my life. I guess I want to do something. and not just be like have a normal life. I wanna leave an impact in a way, and that requires taking some risks and learning from some mistakes.
Beautiful, wonderful. Favorite tracks from Star Wars, also prayers for John Williams. Well, Tiaro can't answer that question because I don't know if you know the. Well, do you? Do you want to answer that question?
Which one?
Favorite track from Star Wars?
I don't know. I don't know. I do not know their specific names. Oh dear.
I mean,
but the title track is pretty iconic. I mean, you can't
absolutely.
really.
I was gonna say like there's so many tracks I love, but Duel of the Fates would probably be the one I pick. It's just so epic. Dear Mauler, I have a playlist named Two Mauler and Wolf with Love from a Fan, which is full of TLJ videos explaining world building, and I was hoping you could rip them apart in a stream as well. We've got more than 30 videos in our backlog, and it keeps growing because we only cover one per stream. We get like 5 per week, so it's like eventually we're not gonna have be able to respond. What we try and do is sort of bring on guests, and then try and tackle a video that sort of matches them at least a little bit, or something that's recently relevant, I suppose, would be interesting too. So we will do our best to possibly approach some of the ones in that playlist. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much. I love your content. Looking forward to episode 9 rant. It is coming. Muller should do a 5-hour crucifixion, logical surgery. Well, I mean, there's no need. We've pretty much talked through it now, so it's all good. It only takes a few seconds for a septic pump to spray shit everywhere, but it takes days to clean it up. You're doing the best to clean it up now. I think I make an analogy for that in the new thing. You know, the whole idea that it's like you shouldn't. What's your take on that, Tiaro? That you shouldn't take longer than the content to talk about the content. That's good enough for me. I already know what you think.
I think we've learned from experience.
Just
yeah, it's a bit of a, that's like, you know, if there's a lot to say, you just got to say it. And honestly, sometimes it pays to say more because then, you know, it can't be misinterpreted.
Yeah.
And that's why I try and I think that's what we both try and do now, like even more so now.
Well,
like,
I'm not sure if
you have to sometimes. Sorry, you go.
I'm not sure if Rags is actually there, but literally the thing we said we came from away from watching this video over the 2 streams was the in future we're both going to try and be more explicit with our language, see if
definitely and
solve some more problems.
I've learned a lot too. I have to, like, even now, like, I'll be like, oh, what if someone thinks I was saying that? And although I've kind of like created a little logical arc for it, where there's like there are always going to be people who take what you say out of context. There are always going to be people who do that, and you cannot account for them and they will do it regardless. There's still like a certain way to deliver the information that's going to get like the reasonable people on board and listening. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do there. I'm just trying to get the main echelon of people who aren't going to listen, because I do believe the majority of people are reasonable. And
well, it's a good thing to believe. It's a positive thing to believe.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's what I try and reflect in my content, and so I kind of want to just encapsulate that set of people. And I'm having a tired day.
It's okay.
It's just one of those days. It's one of those days. We'll work through it. And if there are people are always going to talk. People are always going to look for reasons to misinterpret you, misuse your content as well. That is unavoidable. What you have to do is make it as clear as day, make it as clear as possible that it's not going to be taken out of context, and you know, just do everything, all the safeguards.
Absolutely, I'd say that's a fair lesson for everybody who's making content. It's just gonna help you in the long run. It really will.
Better to be too thorough than not thorough enough.
I mean, me and Rags definitely think that way, but I know that a lot of people will be like, anything over 10 minutes is too long.
And they're wrong.
We hate them. They're the worst. Anyway, show him the love of the Jared, the way of the Jared. Love you guys, of course, James, and thank you for the $100 dues. I actually managed to convince one of my Mormon friends that Duel of the Fates was Mormon chanting. That's impressive. Oh, and then so the last one is, why did TRO fast forward through Rags' Mark Hamill clips? There was a couple of comments I saw that said that it wasn't fast forwarded for them on the original video, but when we played it on here, Rags had clips from Mark Hamill to, you know, prove a point or whatever, and instead of skipping them or just acknowledging that they existed and moving on from they were played, but in like ×3 speeds. You couldn't hear what he was saying, and it was a good like like it was just bizarre. Like I don't understand what the idea with that was.
Generally the fast forwarding was done because like it was the point was that Mark Hamill is like you're showing an array of clips to make it very clear what Mark Hamill's saying, and all the clips, even though they do say like in different ways, they're sending home the same message. And so it was to try and preserve time, but admittedly, still didn't quite manage to do that.
I would describe it as inelegant, because I was so confused with what the point of it was.
That's fair.
Yeah, it would have helped me if those clips had been understandable.
That's fair enough.
But yeah, if you guys want to, I mean, that's pretty convenient, by the way, that this video has been played from 0 to near the end, and that's makes for our whole conversation.
Yeah, and we've discussed this. It would have been better if I did like make it more efficient. Definitely, there were ways to do it. It was just the way I was thinking about it at the time, and so that there were better ways to go about it.
Is there anything else either of you would like to say before we sort of move on?
Nah, I think that's, unless if something's brought up later, sure. But for now, I'm fine. I'm satisfied for the moment. I'll wait for the bulletins as events warrant.
The what?
What?
The bulletins of events warrant? That's what I heard.
No. I'm good.
Okay, yeah, sure. Tiro?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
So the context for this is Vox, I don't even know what the hell they were thinking. Everybody like assumes that they were told, obviously, yeah, if you guys can pop your volume on. Everybody assumes that they were told by someone to release a Marvel-related video. Like, they were like, what should we go with? It's like, I don't know,
I
overrated.
think they were asked, what's the most overrated thing?
Yeah, like
something that's really overrated and popular, and everybody was like, the Marvel
movie. Oh, yeah. That's the reason they give. I'm saying, like, on a meta level, like, their writing staff was like, all right, yes, we got to do. Like they half-assed this video so hard that it's like
they didn't agree, but they're like, well, this is what people want a video on, so I guess we got to do something.
And this is the thing.
Give me a sec.
I don't have any like history of Vox. Like, what is Vox anyway? Like, do you know what the channel is, Rags?
Some bullshit.
Some bullshit.
Vox is it's very weird because they've got like this hot take YouTube channel. But they're also based on a media company, which covers the news, I think, and opinion pieces. I could be wrong, but I see them a lot on Twitter. And
super
it's like
lefty, regressive,
Vox
very
Media, I think,
racist sort of. It's really, I mean, they're really.
What, do they do like BuzzFeed sort of things, or?
Kind of.
I think
they're a step down from BuzzFeed, honestly.
I mean, yeah, I think Vox is that. Yeah, I think they're on the left politically. And for some reason, their YouTube channel is more like one of those like hot takes, like
yeah, they're
media
progressive hot takes channel.
And like, I'm a little MCU fanboy, but you guys got familiarity with the MCU, right?
Yeah. For the most part, I'm fairly knowledgeable.
So should we start with the title? Do you think the universe feels empty?
I don't even know where one would begin to make that connection. It feels, it's hyper dense, I would say.
Especially the payoff ones, like the Avengers films.
Oh yeah.
I really enjoy a lot of the Marvel Cinematic films. I'd say probably my favorite is The Winter Soldier, personally. And I feel that what I love about it is that just the characters really make it, because in many ways, like The Winter Soldier is as traditional as they come, and it's yet completely like expanded by just the depth of each character and how they interact, and that's what I love about it. And that's what I love about a lot of the Marvel films, that they're actually like so I think like they're just taking a thing that people feel like completely the opposite and then just going against it and saying,
well, yeah, that is almost, you know, hot takes. They can be
that is what, yeah,
it's
that's
like
what a lot of hot
you
takes
could
are.
do a thing. It's the idea of like doing it before it becomes accepted almost. And so the idea is like, is this a hot take that the Marvel Cinematic Universe feels empty? It's like,
for its own sake.
Because a lot of people did feel that Marvel was a little bit arbitrary with its connections at first, but like they've been working, I would argue, since it's like, I think Civil War or a bit before that is when they start to really crank up. Because Iron Man 3 is mysteriously without any connections to anything, really. It's like the president gets kidnapped and the world is at threat sort of thing, but like no Avengers turn up and nobody seems to care, and it's just like, oh, we're doing that again, where the universe sort of doesn't give a shit. But then if you look at stuff like Civil War or Winter Soldier, I think came out before Iron Man 3, interestingly enough, but there's more interactions with the characters that we know exist in this world, which is what's important, I would say. And then events having an effect, from the place they started to other places in the world. It's like, oh yeah, because this actually happens in this world. It's not just arbitrarily that, you know, movies are taking place at the same time and that nobody gives a shit about each other. And again, that's why I'd say the Avengers films are the best, because you get so many clashes where you're like, oh, it's like watching Doctor Strange at the same time as watching an Iron Man movie. Ooh, you know, all that comic book style, like, happy fangasm stuff. So, yeah.
But Robin's so edgy.
Here we go, I suppose.
The Marvel Cinematic Universe is overrated.
Ooh.
Oh, that's right.
Well, I mean, that's a different to his title, isn't it?
Yeah, that's... Oh.
Slow down there, buddy.
So, what do we think about that statement?
Qualify it.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I probably would agree in certain cases. Like, I think Black Panther's overrated. I think...
Oh, hell yeah. You saw that shit that I posted on Twitter a couple days ago. Games Radar is like the top 25 best movies of 2018. I was like, that's a lot of top movies for a year that's had a lot of shitty movies, and they're like #1 Black Panther, and I'm like, fuck off.
But yeah, I'm trying to think of like there are other ones I'd consider overrated, but then I'd also be like, but there are certain Marvel films that sometimes I'm like a little bit underrated because it gets brushed under the whole banner of, oh, it's just another superhero movie. It's like, oh,
yeah, well, I think it's one of those things that kind of opening with a statement like the cinematic universe is overrated. You have to like, how do you break that down? Because in a way, the universe is an interaction of individual films that all differ in their quality, and so what is there to say about like it's such a general statement? You really have to go into the details and then explain how the interaction of each of these films would then cause it to be overrated. But I doubt they'll do that, given it's only 9 minutes 39 seconds.
Yeah, that's already the assumption, right? It's like, oh, you're gonna tell us what all of the ratings of the films are compared to their actual assumed quality in some way, and then get an average overall, or look at audience retention. It's like, no, that's not what's gonna happen. And the funny thing is,
your best bet.
So that's what I mean. Like, in terms of structure, we've got, this is why the Marvel Universe feels empty, and the opening statement is it's overrated. And so it's like, I'm already disjointed, and we've got 7 seconds in, but there we are.
Right, this is happening. Okay, so why is this not just a steaming pile of clickbait? Hear me out.
You're Vox. You're the fucking steamiest pile of clickbait that exists, Vox.
Do you think they made the video's script and then they went back and said, fuck, we should put that at the beginning just to try and hopefully stymie a bit of the criticism? Because
I have a feeling that a lot of these channels do is that they think of a title and they base a script around it.
Yeah. Because most people would do it the other way around, right?
Yeah.
Like most normal people. Be like, the title is supposed to represent what's in your fucking video, not the other way around.
Fox are not normal people.
So far, there have been 20 of these movies, and Uber producer Kevin Feige says there will be at least 20 more in the MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Right, but they're not out yet.
The next.
I was gonna say, yes, moving on. Like we're waiting for the, you know. I like the fact display parts of videos because you're just like, yes, we could skip over these.
10 years. Seriously, half of these people could disappear, and it would still be 148 too many
Get
characters.
it?
That's what they did.
When we asked Fox's audience for things they think are overrated, Marvel and
I'm confused. Is that really like their justification for why they did this? Is like, wouldn't you want to? Hang on, that's 5 upvotes as well.
5.
I mean, that's
They
fair
loved
enough.
it though. The one
No, I
above
mean-
it has 20.
Yeah,
but
like
they
I'm saying,
loved
like, why
this
wouldn't you
one.
choose the Why you? I don't know. Like, what
I mean,
relevance is this?
It's like, I mean, it's not necessarily about which one has the most likes. It's about which one's going to get the most views.
Hmm. In that case, yes, this was an excellent choice, but they didn't need a comment to tell them to do it, did they?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, true. I mean, I guess they were just looking for ideas.
Because
Maybe.
they could have done Star Wars, couldn't they?
They could have done Star Wars is over.
Thanks, Abdullah Al Kamal.
DC's movies came up.
Oh,
again.
fuck, man.
Oh
they're,
shit!
they're cheating. Now it's at 50. It was at 5. It's 4 a second ago. They're cheating.
There you go. Okay, so it was the top comment. That's fair
Fox
enough.
a bunch of
Absolutely,
cheaters.
it was like it was blasted. I guess there's a lot of hate for the Marvel Cinematic Universe out there. That's fair enough.
I guess.
Which is why it's
But here's
important
the
that
thing,
these
though.
videos are made to share why.
But I think to a layperson, they don't even like think about it as a universe so much as individual like heroes with their own movies.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's certainly how like my mom and my dad and some other people I know think about it. They don't think about the whole universe. They're like, yeah, Doctor Strange and Iron Man and all that. It's like they're all in
Well,
little sections.
let's be
you know?
fair. There are people out there who, if you said the Incredible Hulk is not in the MCU, the movie, they'd be like, okay, yeah, I didn't think it was. And then you go, no, it is. And they go, oh shit, yeah, I knew that.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to keep track sometimes, I suppose.
Movies. In the United States alone, they've grossed more than $6.5 billion. And yet there's something missing. When you look at the history of fictional universes, and at the MCU in particular, it's possible to understand how it could be
Why is it
fixed.
broken?
Oh, so his premise then is we're going to look at the history of cinematic universes to explain why the MCU is broken.
Well,
yeah,
let's-
they asserted that it can be fixed
So if-
without telling us how it's broken.
It feels empty, it's overrated, and now it's broken. It's like, which one of these are we tackling first, or are they all the same thing?
They get a 10th of their videos gone. So
That's the part I always find interesting about this. It's like, you could count intros and then establishment of facts before the actual, meat of the video, and it's like, man, you're already running out of time. Like, gotta kick it up.
That's a long time to.
Go back to 1939. and
No,
you'll
don't. No,
I don't know if this is gonna be relevant, dude, but okay.
I already have questions if this is relevant or not. But
19
all right, Human Torch was a fucking beast.
Absolutely, look at him.
Jeez. He is like
pretty well.
he's in fuego.
All right, let's see what they've got.
the Marvel
Any-
Universe. It's in Marvel Mystery Comics number 7. These characters aren't that well known today, but here Betty tells Namor that the Human Torch exists,
Who's
establishing continuity and
Okay.
crossover potential. This was the start of a new era, one in which corporations produced fiction. The idea was simple. You could use the fame of one property to enhance the audience for another. And
Yeah.
Marvel
Okay.
wasn't alone in recognizing the financial
I
opportunity.
was about to say, is he now going to talk about how other
Is that
people had
bad?
this idea too?
Yes,
I'm
I
kinda
don't see how this is
confused.
bad.
I guess it's in
mean,
case we don't understand what a cinematic universe could
I
be,
guess,
or
yeah.
the history of it. I don't really know why he's
Maybe
explaining
they're
it.
setting the stage, but now like 20% of their videos done.
I was going to say, it would make much more sense to do this if you had an hour's video, maybe.
Yeah, man. Like I think most of us know that Marvel movies are big and everyone knows about them and they make lots of money. And
Mhm.
we all know that the comics go back a long way.
I figured the first thing you tackle is how the universes, well, how the films link to each other, and how it's, it's XYZ. That would be a
Yeah.
great place to start, rather than this is the history of when properties would cross over. It's like, oh dear, well, you're not wrong, as far as I know, by the way, because I don't know the history of comics. I'll just take his
I'll
word for
take
it.
their word for it, I suppose.
Opportunity of crossovers in the 1930s and 40s.
The Green Hornet.
Look at that picture on the wall. The man on that horse is one of your ancestors.
In the 1940s, the Green Hornet revealed that the series' central character, Britt Reed, was the grandnephew of the Lone Ranger.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I didn't know
Another
that.
popular
Okay.
Yeah.
video
Okay.
star
I
at
didn't
the
know that.
time.
That's new for me.
I hope you do something about those crooks, just as your pioneer ancestor did.
Movie studios were thinking about this too. When Abbott and Costello met Frankenstein, it joined the Dracula, Frankenstein, and Wolfman movie franchise.
Well, I guess now we're sort of
right.
getting closer to the MCU in that we're in film franchises. But yeah, the monster movies did cross over, I suppose.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you guys would have known about that at least.
Yeah, because like Van Helsing, they're Frankenstein and Dracula were in Van Helsing.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I don't care what people say. I like that movie.
wait,
like
you talk about the Hugh Jackman one?
Yeah.
I have not watched that in so long, but I know that that's
really liked
considered a bad film. I can't remember it.
Well, those people are wrong. It's amazing. It's got a machine gun crossbow and shit.
Oh yeah, I remember that. He dips it in like
Yeah.
holy water, doesn't he?
Holy water, yeah, and then he shoots the vampire ladies with it.
All right.
Sounds pretty decent.
Yep.
Is with a goofy comedy. It was basically Universal Studios' Avengers Infinity War, but with more running into walls. By the 60s, even DC comics.
This is so weird.
Oh.
You know how we've talked about this before, but me and Rags basically like every time. Oh, and when Wolf is here, of course, we tackle a video and we'll be like, okay, so these are the actual things that are wrong with this one, even though the last one we covered had all these different things wrong, and there's all these different things. It's like I don't know where to begin with this one. Like
It's like,
I mean,
all right,
it's-
this is nice background info to have, I suppose, but I wish they're running out of time.
Yeah, they are. They are. They kind of need to.
especially
like a third of the way done.
consider the fact that we're willing to watch the whole thing, but like the amount of people who are like, yeah, tell me why the Marvel universe is empty. People who like hate the MCU, even they're going to be like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind setting up premises, but what?
We're nearly a third of the way. Like you gotta hurry.
It just feels like problem is I can't see an argument being formed. Like if someone can present some premises and like interesting points, then I can probably maybe see where they're going, and then I can wait it out. But this is just like they give me a history. It's like, okay.
Yeah, they better end this with a big ol' so with all that being said,
the MCU equals bad.
It's like, okay.
Comics was catching up. Like when Superman entered his Fortress of Solitude and finally met Batman.
Mm-hmm.
They enjoyed some cake.
God, don't play music.
Alright.
Everyone will get strikes. Assuming that's an actual.
They enjoy some cake.
They did eat cake. Let them. Well, I say let them eat cake.
Let them eat cake. That's a great.
Let them eat
That sounds
cake
like
in
something
their
a famous
Fortress of
person would say.
Solitude. Yeah.
I think that's what some. I think that's.
I was
The
joking.
Fantastic Four think I'm trapped, but they
it's-
don't suspect my real
That's
power.
Marie Antoinette said that, right?
Is it? I think. So.
It's
She-
attributed
she-
to her.
Yeah. She
Yeah.
said. Maybe
She's
it's
famous for
paraphrased. But
dying.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I have learned that when Batman and Superman, which we're getting closer, by the way, superheroes combining, even though we sort of did the Human Torch earlier, but hey, getting closer to the MCU, getting there.
By the time Spider-Man got his comic in 1963, he was spending time with the Fantastic Four and promoting guest appearances from the Hulk. And this was also when the Marvel Universe's problems started.
Ooh.
So
Hey.
60s is when things went to shit. I'm telling you, man, things went to shit in the 60s.
Yeah.
Hey,
Before that, everybody knew their place.
Assuming he kicks up into actual arguments now, it was a 3-minute intro, which I can get over if the rest is solid. I'm not sure what the point of it was, but hey.
Yeah.
This snow globe contains a half-century of television. It's the basis for the Tommy Westphal universe theory, which some argue might be the biggest fictional universe of all. The snow globe appeared on the
Saint
80s
Elsewhere,
television
yeah.
show Saint Elsewhere. That scene possibly showed that the whole series had taken place inside a snow globe world imagined by a minor character named Tommy
Yeah,
Westphal.
he's like an autistic kid
The
or
theory
something. Yeah.
is that if a show had a crossover with Saint Elsewhere, that show must have taken place in Tommy's
Okay.
Snow Globe too.
Okay.
And every crossover that show had, no matter how tangential, would be in the Snow Globe. And so on and so on.
So,
But how is the Marvel
What-
Cinematic
okay.
Universe overrated or
Just-
empty?
just to clarify, if I've got this right, he's saying that, like, you know, when a show has, like, say, I don't know, someone references Buffy in Law and Order, that counts as, because I'm assuming that's some of these connections have to be that vague.
As long as it's tied back to Saint Elsewhere, then it's just a dream in the mind of an autistic kid.
And that, I mean, yeah.
I don't know how this actually changes anything. It just adds an extra.
Are we getting like a
top.
second introduction now? Because like I'm not sure what this is leading.
We'll see, I guess.
Yeah.
It's very hard on this television
chart. And like this would have been, you know, this is a graphic that someone had to make. So this is, I mean, the editing's been pretty good so far. I have to admit. Like,
yeah. Gee, the Andy Griffith show's over there, and we've got Coach, and
you got X-Files is connected to like a. I'm assuming all these are is literally just people making a reference.
This chart must have taken fucking ages to make.
Especially to get it right too, because you'd have to research this.
Assuming this is right, like wow, Veronica Mars and X-Files and jeez.
Yeah.
Shows in the same universe, in the same snow globe. It spans from 1952 to today. It's a dumb theory, but it's meant to.
Thanks then.
That said, the Tommy Westphall universe actually illustrates some of the problems with the Marvel cinematic universe.
Okay, so he's like making a comparison.
We've got it.
Like,
so
all right.
So he's like making equivalents, basically.
He's going to explain how the snow globe will now infer us into a problem with the MCU. I'm following along.
Yes.
Crossovers require a bunch of artistic compromises. No one wants Cheers and I Love Lucy to be a connected universe. It's because a bunch of business decisions connected them.
That's not true.
I mean,
yeah, I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with it as long as it's done well.
I mean,
yeah.
I think a casual nod to something else can be kind of cool.
Like the idea that American Dad and Family Guy could take place in the same universe. Like I'm on board with that.
Like they don't have to have like a direct crossover. I mean, it's just like, but if everything is like the way they showed it on that graphic was that it was linked to a load of other shows that was then linked to the one at the end.
And a lot of them must have been tangential, like the X-Files stuff, you know, like just a character saying, man, you're more skeptical than Scully. It would be like...
So basically no relationship at all.
Yeah, like that, how does that damage anything?
Why is that? Why would that be a problem if there's literally no reference? Direct reference at least. Like, who cares?
There are shows like, you know, Buffy and Angel take place in each other's universes for a benefit. They have crossovers and... episodes that are part 1s and part 2s that cross the shows, which is genuinely a great thing. So it's kind of weird that he's just like, yeah, this causes problems. Like, okay. I'm assuming he's going to tell us what the problems are at least.
Sometimes the network forced crossovers on producers, other times the producers came up with it. Gary Marshall said that the reason that Mork from Ork knew Fonzie from Happy Days and Laverne from Laverne and Shirley was because his son said that Fonzie should dream about an alien. These crossovers...
Well, that's the writing.
Yeah.
What's that got to do with the fact that they crossed over? Like, you could have written that a bit better than saying it was a dream or whatever.
Oh dear.
Oh dear, indeed.
Are always
the whole
about
point is that Mork is... like, he's supposed to be... because the end of every Mork and Mindy episode ends with Mork going back to like the alien overlords and like making commentary about humans.
I've never seen it, so I would go strictly off that. I just mean in concept, the idea that you cross over isn't inherently going to provide you with bad writing. It's the writer that would do that.
Yeah.
Like, can you really make Fonzie appear in Mork and Mindy reasonably? I'd be like, yeah?
Yeah. Sure.
It's not ridiculous, is it?
It's not telling a good story. The Tommy Westphall universe is a thought experiment. Frasier and the X-Files don't mix, even though they do in Tommy Westphall's Globe.
Why can't they mix? I know the tones are different, but that's the idea of, you know...
So, I mean, maybe he's going to reverse the formula and say, basically, these things exist in Tommy Westphall's Globe, and you wouldn't see them together, and they probably wouldn't work as a crossover. And then he'll say, this is the same thing with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so why would they cross over?
Like, is he going to say maybe that something like Ant-Man, because it's really uppity, happy, and comedy-like, wouldn't mix with Winter Soldier because it's almost like a espionage, darker toned thriller?
Yeah, that would be my hunch. I think he's going to reverse it and say these things don't mix. So why would you do it with Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is a very invalid argument.
Well,
how come everyone in Cheers is so happy and everyone's laughing and is so lucky, and then you go to the X-Files and everything's just sad?
Well, I was about to say, like, that's the nature of a universe. If you go to a hospital or you go to a children's daycare, the atmosphere will be different in real life. That's how it works. But again, we've just inferred a point that doesn't exist yet, so let's see if he does make it.
But even at Marvel, where continuity was planned, it became a hassle to maintain.
Okay.
Marvel editor and writer Len Wein said the problem at Marvel was that we suddenly became a business with a bunch of books that Stan, don't think ever in his heart, expected to last more than a couple of years.
That doesn't mean it's without a solution.
I don't know what that point assists.
Yeah,
considering that the movies can only tell, let's be fair, like, a few issues of a comic could, like, one comic could make one film. So, and this is they don't even necessarily go with the comics. They always break away from the comics. So it's like, I don't know what that, I'm not sure what that point helps.
Maybe the way to solve this is with standalone sequels.
Oh no, we didn't bring that up. I don't want to bring it back, but do you not find this statement funny, Yarrow? The idea that you can only really look at The Last Jedi as a sequel if you interpret it as a sequel.
What?
It's okay, we can push on.
In 1965, Lee replaced most of the Avengers just because the continuity for the original group had become too confusing to deal with. This continuity clutter happened in the movies, too.
I genuinely think we're about to hit that in the MCU. There's so many heroes that have so many abilities and resources that it's going to get very complicated to maintain. But I don't think we've had much of that problem up till now.
Yeah, I think it's a sense of scale is really the thing.
Iron Man kicked off the MCU in 2008. The universe exposition dump didn't happen until after the credits.
Mr. Stark, you become part of a bigger universe.
I'm sorry, exposition dump? That's literally just a teaser.
Yeah, that's not an exposition dump. It's just Nick going, hey!
It's probably one of the most genius things, like...
It was a really good idea that they did that.
It was an incredible, like, idea, like... It was a very, very innovative thing to do, and it was completely
like that seemed a bit aggressive, you know, like exposition dump. Like,
this video's a dump. So there,
you fucking got him, Rags.
Yeah,
there we go.
Nailed him.
Owned. Libtard owned.
Weak excuse right in the middle of the movie.
I think our first move should be calling the Avengers.
I spent half my life trying to keep this technology out of the hands of a Stark. I'm sure as hell not going to hand deliver it to one now.
Okay.
These heavy-handed additions.
That's reasonable.
Okay. Okay.
But that's a reasonable thing to say.
Time to bring out my MCU fanboyness. Going just from the films, because I think that's the point of the MCU. The opening scene of Ant-Man establishes that Hank Pym doesn't trust anybody at S.H.I.E.L.D., and he wants to protect his patent before they use it for evil, basically. The film itself is about somebody else discovering the Pym particle and using it to sell it to, like, terrorists and shit, and he has to stop them, or he wants to. And because Ant-Man, or Paul Rudd's character, is a little bit slow sometimes, he's like, hey, because we're in the Avengers universe, why don't we ask them for help? And Hank Pym's like, have you not paid attention to anything I've told you? Like, we don't want Stark to get the Pym particle because Hank Pym sees Stark as a weapons seller. This is also brought up in Civil War, by the way, when Ant-Man is like, Hank Pym was right, never trust a Stark. This is a thing. Yeah. Hank Pym does not trust Tony Stark or his father. That's not arbitrary at all. That's like the reason the Avengers are not in Ant-Man, because Hank Pym doesn't want to get anywhere near them. And this is brought up again in Ant-Man 2, by the way. See, I've already got a problem now, because this is the actual substance of his actual video, and it's just inaccurate. Like, this is not reasons against it being a full universe, or reasons for it being empty. This is reasons for it being strong.
Yeah, and if anything, you know, a guy like me who has a moderate understanding of the MCU was like, yeah, that seems reasonable. That makes sense to me.
And you could be like, no, that's just convenient so that you don't have to have Iron Man in the film. I'd be like, I mean, it would be a problem if Iron Man was in the film working with Hank Pym. That would be a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's a problem for Iron Man 3. Like I did say, I don't know why you wouldn't just reference that. Iron Man 3 pretends like there are no other heroes in the universe. Like it's kind of an issue because the president gets kidnapped, like I said, which would attract the attention of people like, I don't know, Captain America, for example. Captain America, like you would probably care if the president was kidnapped.
Hashtag not my president.
Are about getting crossover hype, not about telling a good story. But there's a bigger problem.
That's literally a part of the story.
There's a bigger problem.
It's like it's for the story, not against it, dude.
Continuity in the MCU, and there is a way to do it better.
All right, let's hear it out.
Oh, you're the Avengers!
The rest of this scene is a standard movie fight. Their universe is only as deep as some merchandise. And
what?
What?
Spider-Man Homecoming is the most connected of the singular films. It has so many references to the what's his name? Vulture. The whole reason he exists as a bad guy is because of the Avengers. Like, not just them, but the actual film, The Avengers.
It was, I mean, first it was actually like, I really enjoyed the film. I don't know about what you guys thought, but I really enjoyed Homecoming. Iron
Man is in that movie, as Vid just said.
It's tonally well done. It's really like, you know, it's a standalone film in a way, but how it's intertwined with the rest of the universe is very well done. I thought it was.
Well, I mean, let's be honest here. He's being a bit of a dick. This is one scene in the film, and he's done it for a joke where he's like, "This is how skin deep the connections are. It's just merch." It's like, no.
Everything else.
He's got merch of Iron Man right there. Iron Man is in the film.
I mean, yeah, I kind of think that he just has to step back and like I just see it as a cheeky wink, like, you know, if it sells some merch on the side, like, yeah, I mean, obviously I'd expect the actual films with the people that they appear in to sell more merch.
Yeah,
like,
they're action figures in their own universe. They established that in one of the TV shows. You can buy like
with all the shit we have for football teams.
Exactly,
I mean, the Avengers,
which is why the universe is genuinely what I would say is like, I'm not going to say it's amazing, but I think it's strong compared to what it could be.
Yeah, so I mean, selling merch, you know, that's what that's an output of what they do. I mean,
also, what does this have to do with Mork and Mindy or the history of comic books? You know, like, this is clearly a writing critique.
Yeah,
that was filler.
That was filler.
It's like, look, I mean, look how smart we are with our graphics and our old comic book knowledge.
It was an attempt for them to like sound knowledgeable, to try and give their yeah, exactly, to give their opinions like foundations where there actually are none.
Will Mork and Mindy appear in the Avengers? That's my question.
I hope so. I hope Mork is. It shouldn't have been Captain Marvel. They should have been like, call Mork.
And a few Easter eggs.
It's few
cool
Easter
when
eggs.
Peter Parker's classroom has a picture of Bruce Banner in the corner, but it's not a transformed universe.
What? Why are you treating it like this is that and the merchandise are the only connections? It's way more than that. And I'm sorry, but that's an awesome detail that he makes it up there with like actual real life scientists. They've got Bruce Banner. That's cool. But obviously,
yeah, I mean, it's more subtle, but it's something.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You'd be like, well, that's
far more obvious.
If this was the only reference, you'd be like, well, that's a pretty skin deep reference. It's like, but it's not. Spider-Man: Homecoming has some of the most references to it being a universe. Remember the tapes from Captain America about like better behaving in school? Like, that's a great piece of world building because I could totally see him doing that.
Yeah.
And they always play tapes in schools, or at least they did for my generation, where it'd just be like, yeah, just watch this, you'll be a better person.
Exactly.
Including the imaginary brand of Red Apple cigarettes in multiple movies. It's cool. It's not a coherent, intertwined world. The MCU...
What do you require to be considering it an intertwined world, if not Iron Man actually turning up in Homecoming?
Yeah, but Red Apple.
Okay, carry on playing.
It was like our own, except for the crossovers. You can test it with the characters. Add Aquaman to that poster. If you didn't know DC owned him, would anyone notice?
What? Would anyone notice? Yeah.
Well, yeah, he'd be in the film. People would see him.
I mean,
he would have like dialogue.
What
and
an
stuff.
odd point. I'm not even sure what he's trying to say with that.
I think he's saying that because I got nothing.
I'm trying to think how I think he's saying that because he said no one would notice, which is firstly, like, what he's trying to say is no one would notice that he's from the DC universe, and they wouldn't be able to distinguish between them, between people from their own universe and people from other universes, which I think is fairly redundant point, but that is what I think he's trying to say.
Well, I was going to say, but like, that isn't that a plus? The fact that we have wizards plus scientists plus radioactive people plus people bitten by spiders plus agents that have worked for Russia. You know, like, what I'm trying to argue here is, like, it's almost like a universe.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's kind of the good thing about it, and what he's saying is that the universe itself, and this is what I assume is going to come to eventually, because people from outside the universe, if they were added, no one would really notice. It means the universe itself lacks an identity.
Let's just say this, man.
And therefore, the universe feels empty. And there you have your title.
Oh well.
So
that, you know, that I could. There's stuff to discuss there at least, so that could actually fix his video if that's where he's going with it. But drop Mork and Mindy into the Avengers with, like, seriously, that's not gonna work. They can't have everything in here. It's kind of stupid to be like, if you drop Aquaman, because it's like, yeah, but Aquaman is a superhero.
And he's not in it.
Well, my point, yeah, like, we don't have a water one yet. We don't have an Aquaman equivalent, so yeah, he would fit in. I don't really. Well, let's see how he develops at this point.
The MCU has no rules beyond corporate ownership. It's a superhero hodgepodge. The same goes for DC.
It doesn't have rules?
It definitely has rules, and superhero hodgepodge, if what that translates to into is it has lots of superheroes, I'd be like, yes. Star Wars is like a hodgepodge of bounty hunters and Jedi and politicians and.
DC have done such a pathetic job.
I don't know why he brought them up.
Look at the Flash. Look at that chick.
It's just depressing. Like, you went from, like, the poster for Infinity War, which is so well done, and then we just went to this.
I can't watch Justice League seriously. I like laugh my ass off watching that film. It's so funny.
Oh man.
Also,
like that. It's like someone would, like, they're not even out of high school with that design like that.
Just so, yeah. Oh man, and clearly the DC logo is supposed to be right there in the middle of Batman.
Also, yeah, because I played the Ultimate Alliance game recently. Namor is the guy who's the Aquaman equivalent for the Marvel Universe, which my point being with that is that, yeah, Aquaman could slip in if nobody knew about him from DC, because we'd be like, oh, it's a guy who came from an underwater secret society. You'd be like, I could see that fitting in.
They fucking made up Wakanda.
Yeah,
get away with anything.
Like, they could do anything. Like, yeah.
Like, here's a new country.
Oh god, he's saying you can add Hawkeye to Justice League. Okay.
Hawkeye here. Nobody would care. Okay. And not
what do you mean?
Just because it's Hawkeye. Marvel's own
what are you saying, sir?
So he's saying that there's no identity to the universes.
Compared to what?
You are
like,
I mean that's he's
like, we couldn't see Iron Man in Star Wars. It's like, we probably could. Mandalorians aren't far away from that.
Here's the thing, like, if Hawkeye is in Justice League and Aquaman is in Infinity War, I don't see how they could be, I guess. I mean, why not?
I mean, it doesn't make it.
I don't see how it's empty or overrated.
Property.
Or broken.
With a movie universe owned by Fox and likely going to Disney, shows a better way. This universe is not just crossovers. Every character, human and mutant, has taken sides.
So, if we put Iron Man in X-Men, people would likely notice.
Yeah.
And so what he's trying to do here is he's trying to compare a very different realm of universes. He's saying he's used a rather dishonest argument, because he's compared two the DC universe, which is a superhero universe, with the Marvel universe, which is a superhero universe, and then is bringing the X-Men universe in as something that is different. But X-Men isn't necessarily the same genre. I mean, even though there are clear differences.
The X-Men universe relies on the world being the way it is.
Exactly.
Like, if you instantly said that, by the way, the X-Men universe exists within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it would raise so many fucking questions, and it wouldn't make sense. Because, like, what about all these mutants and stuff? Like, what? This is like
you
a
guys,
big fucking deal.
You've seen all the X-Men movies, right? Or maybe
most of them.
Yeah. I've seen
the continuity of the X-Men films is like the worst of a universe. It is the worst.
Oh yeah.
There's nothing worse than X-Men because it contradicts itself everywhere, and there's jokes about it. Like Deadpool jokes that he doesn't even understand which continuity he's in because there's like 3. Or if you count that Logan separated, because a lot of people do. So don't even like it's X-Men 1, 2, and 3 are in the same continuity, and then First Class, Days of Future Past, those 2 films behave as if X-Men 1, 2, and 3 actually took place within them, but then it does it and resets to create X-Men Apocalypse and I don't even I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Basically, he's using 2 very different things and trying to create an equivalence. And X-Men, like, that can hardly be called a universe even. Like,
no,
it's more like a franchise.
Yeah. What if it'd
be like saying the James Bond universe has more continuity or something.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, James Bond would probably be the closest thing to standalone sequels that you could possibly get.
Let's put it this way. He was like, you have the Avengers films that bring the single ones together. All X-Men films are Avengers films. Like, every one of them are Avengers films in their own universe because it's about all the X-Men. It's not, you got the Rogue movie, the Wolverine movie, and the Scott Summers movie, and then we saw X-Men, which brought them together, which, by the way, would probably generate whatever problem he has with the MCU, which I'm not 100% clear on anyway. But let's see what I just can't believe he's referencing X-Men. It's like notoriously bad for continuity and universe connections, if you know what I mean.
Universe is not just crossovers. Every character, human.
Would you really say that the X-Men has crossovers?
I mean, I think it's because the intention from the beginning was to have all the characters, but his problem is that with Marvel, it wasn't the intention from the very beginning to have all the characters together. And so
yeah, I think it was dependent on if Iron Man did well, and that's pretty much what made it happen.
I have no real problem with that.
Well, yeah, it's a safe thing to do if you're going to try and make money.
It doesn't matter if, like, a crossover does well. Like, it doesn't have to be your intention from the start. If you can build on that and turn that crossover into something productive and genuinely, like, that contributes to both the stories of the characters involved, then like, why does it matter what the initial intentions were?
And Mutant has taken sides in a generations-long battle with real stakes, unlike Marvel's Civil War.
Oh.
What? But Captain America was born in what year exactly?
Real stakes, unlike Civil War.
Oh wow, real stakes.
I'm not going to bother boring you guys to death with an explanation. I'm just going to make a video for that film one day, but I'll just say, wrong.
Oh boy.
Real stakes.
Do you remember when some Avengers ate cake?
that was like
they weren't Avengers. That was Batman and fucking Fortress of Solitude. Get your lore straight, man.
Man,
that was from like the 40s.
Hey, it's all part of the MCU.
Lore.
That leads to creative possibilities like decade jumping and even
creative possibilities like decade jumping. They literally have to ignore past sometimes. They're like, oh fuck, that didn't happen. And you're arguing that the connections in the MCU are so surface and skin level, while they literally jump decades in X-Men, so we can't even connect them other than the actors. Like, what are you talking about?
Tonal experimentation with deep integration to the X-Men.
Tonal experimentation. How could you not say that Thor Ragnarok was not a tonal experimentation?
Yeah, this is nuts.
I don't know where the hell he's coming from with this. I don't know. Stop using X-Men.
He's just chatting shit. Let's be clear.
Mythology.
Stop using X-Men.
If not the continuity. When
he said if not the continuity there, did he?
Oh, okay. Well, that's fucking okay.
How could you ignore the continuity?
Mythology. If not the continuity.
So he say the mythology is the positive, not the continuity. I don't know what the fuck that means.
It's funny, sure.
How do you have mythology without continuity? Like, you can't build anything if you have no continuity. You can only just declare.
Yeah, then, I mean, it would be the most... I mean, mythology without continuity would be the most low...
Like stories start and finish within their own story.
It's like every single story you heard about Zeus would be its own completely...
He's wrong anyway. X-Men 1, 2, and 3... They had strong continuity. It's just that's where it starts and ends for the X-Men universe, pretty much. What a bizarre video.
What a strange video.
When Marvel experiments, like with Jessica Jones, the big tie-in to the MCU is merch.
Do you have any cool toys in your room you want to show me?
Do you know Captain America?
Yeah, well, I haven't seen Jessica Jones thoroughly, so I can't tell you what the connections are, but I don't trust this guy at this point, so...
I mean, it's just like, yeah, of course there's going to be so much...
Like, Tony Stark could make an appearance in Jessica Jones and they wouldn't mention it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
He could be their roommate that wouldn't say anything.
It's such, like, of course there are times when they just push merch, like, from time to time shamelessly, like, no one's doubting that, but there are many crossovers that are creative and actually do things with the characters, so I find he's probably being a bit selective with his examples. And
not to mention, like, if a kid is in the universe where the Avengers exists, he probably does have action figures for them. I probably would if I was his age.
Reasonable.
Yeah.
X-Men movies are not all good, but they do have a universal logic that is...
What does that... They have universal logic, but they don't have good continuity. It's like, how do those reconcile exactly?
Stronger than Tommy Westfall's snow globe.
Ah, there it is.
It's stronger than the snow globe, is that what he just said?
The reference is back.
That paid off, didn't it?
Wow. Okay.
Is he saying the MCU is the snow globe and the X-Men is better than the snow globe? I'm guessing that's what it is.
Yeah.
Do they understand how like controversial that last Saint Elsewhere episode was with the fucking snow globe? Like, people were pissed.
Yeah.
Because they had been...
Okay.
No, it's fine. Let's...
Here's another task.
Oh no.
If you, little old you, were in a movie, which universe would change you? In X-Men, you'd have to decide where you fell in a decades-long battle. Do you side with mutants or humans?
Well, no, you wouldn't. And if you were a mutant, you might have to make that decision, but even then you wouldn't have to.
Yeah, you wouldn't have to take a side.
He's referring to the narrative as well, by the way, which is unfair for Infinity War. You should compare it to Civil War, where you actually had to make a decision on the Accords. That would make more sense.
Yeah.
This is just stupid. Why are you comparing it to Infinity War, where a giant space alien comes to kill everybody? It's like, which side are you going to be on?
Do you want to die or don't you? Pick a side.
Yeah.
It's like,
Thanos is pretty sound bloke.
Yeah, I'm on board with Thanos. I'll be.
In
the MCU, you'd be like this kid in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Your big decision would be to buy some merch.
I'm okay.
What the fuck am I listening to?
Thanos is about to kill you, and you think, you know what, I could use some merch.
Did he think that made sense when he said that? As a comparison, in X-Men you choose whether or not ideologically you should fight for the right to exist as a mutant with violence or with political like points and stuff, versus Marvel where all you would do is buy merch. It's like, what? What?
Marvel has flirted with a richer universe, one in which the lives of all people are transformed by a shared history. But
you know what? He's totally reading this from a script and probably has no idea. He doesn't actually give a shit, does he? I'm not trying to say critical of the guy. He's clearly a mouthpiece for the video. But he's reading this as if he's just like, Marvel is this, right? Like, I don't know.
What are movies?
This is true. Interstellar is a movie.
What are film?
Right now, would anybody be surprised if Disney forced a Marvel Star Wars crossover?
There would be a time where maybe that would be interesting, but I know that Disney would fuck it up and then they would ruin Marvel by proxy.
Not only that, but I don't even know how you do that, because you'd have to get the Avengers to travel through time and over a massive amount of space.
Yeah, so you would have to have some sort of an interdimensional portal that would transport you to a place far away that also brought you far back in time. And then I just think the Jedi turned into the wizards from Harry Potter.
To clarify, I would be surprised. I don't think Star Wars and I don't think Disney's going to do that. I think they'll keep the IP separated. I don't think they're going to do that.
Yeah.
They probably don't want to taint Marvel. In the late 80s, the Marvel comic Damage Control toyed with the consequences of superhero life.
Like Civil War does, which is something that you said has no stakes.
On the world at large. That made its cameo in Spider-Man Homecoming a thrilling indicator of where the...
Which comes out... Was that before or after Civil War? But that's the fucking point of the movie! Was that he's trying to take advantage of the damage the Avengers did in... Well, the aliens did, and they're trying to sell...
Spider-Man Homecoming came out after Civil War, I'm pretty sure.
I think it did too, but my point is just like, it's like he just pretends these films don't exist with these comments. I love he says it's a cameo. It's literally this guy's, like, origin story, is that he's a scrap collector. He's collecting alien scrap because of Avengers. Do you understand the connection?
You could go. It was a world that anybody could imagine themselves in. But until that experimentation transforms the movies, the MCU is just a business strategy. The universe.
Of course it's a business strategy. As if the X-Men aren't.
The universe can't be bad. It can't be good or bad.
Like, it's not just a business strategy. It's
the idea that it's like, they just want to make money when they release these films. It's like... That's,
money is
an
like
element.
part of it.
It's good or bad.
They can't make any more if they don't make money, so...
Doesn't, like, the film, like, maybe, like, have the intention of making money, but you still also, like, have the consequences of how the film is going to be received and so on. Like, there are other things that people have to take into account when making these films. Like, that's why I assume they try to actually, I mean, for some of them, they try and make them good.
Good lord. And just the idea that he's saying this as if the X-Men series was created with no intention of making money or something.
Yeah.
Is still in development. If you want just the facts about Marvel, please
then
check
we'll go
out
fucking look at somebody else. We're not gonna...
The biggest corruption scandal in Latin America's history.
That's a strange video to jump from with this video. It's like...
I have the feeling like they probably won't get too much, like, too many devout fans.
Crossover? What about the Vox Cinematic Universe?
Oh god.
A lot of crossover?
Well, I mean, did you guys see the interesting part of this video is that the like-dislike bar was insane. It's like...
Oh yeah, it's like 20%.
And it's, you can tell, right? It's like, what even was his point? Like,
okay. It is 31,000 up and 97,000 down.
Dear. Oh dear.
This is awful.
I mean, that was just...
He didn't even make it to the 10-minute mark. The poor guy.
The top comment is, anyone else feel like they just watched 9 minutes and 38 seconds of nothing? Yeah, I do, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
There's a lot of interesting conversations that you could have from this video. You could be like, what are the pluses and cons of the MCU versus the X-Men universe? I'd be like, yeah, I'm up for that. That's cool as a conversation, but...
Just a load of different points thrown together and created a big ball of fuck all. I mean, it's a mess of a video, and what's he trying to say?
I don't know. This is the thing. I think that if we had this guy here, he'd probably be like, I don't know, man. I read this script. I don't know what the fuck.
Mean, he did have some very clear eye contact. I'm not sure whether he was just like.
Also,
he might have just been
look at the amount of people who worked on this.
It
makes sense.
People work on something and get it so wrong.
The story editor. Does that mean the script?
Story editor sounds more formal, sounds more professional. You're not just a a script writer, you're a story editor.
Well, that's so pretentious if that's what that means. Like the story of this video.
6 people made this video.
Hey, remember, not clickbait.
6 people got together and made this awful video.
But yeah, this got onto number 2 on trending, I think, as well. Which, by the way, is like this is the power of clickbait, guys. Like, this is a nothing video, and just because of the thumbnail and the name, it's boosted.
It has 1.7 million views.
I don't know why.
It should not have really got out of the gates.
People are curious. Is like I think.
Oh, I know. I was
on this, and they're like, "What?"
Well, I think Captain Midnight's responded to this personally, and you know, you'll find a lot of MCU people. I think even the Passion the Nerd guy I've talked about before. People like him, me, and whoever else will be like, I'll hear an argument for this. Sure, go ahead. But we did really get it. Because he said that Spider-Man Homecoming was surface level, Civil War had no stakes. All you do in these universes, comparatively, is on one buy merch, and the other one you get invested in the actual ideological war. It's like, none of these things are true.
Silly. It's just silly. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Why would you say that?
Again, like I said, it felt like someone in their thing was like, we need to make a Marvel video, and we needed to make it impactful. It's a good time to make a Marvel video. I don't even know. Like that's the level of passion that feels like it came from this video.
Why? I don't know. I'm just bemused at this. This is a mess. It's a hot mess, and
it is 24% upvoted. Jesus.
Beautiful.
What the hell?
The ongoing question of how the hell does this even happen?
I want to like reflect on it and like look at the arguments, but there was just like such a different mix of things that you can't pick apart a logical narrative even if you wanted to. It's just a mess. It's just these ideas in a mixing bowl.
I mean, at least we knew where the first crossover came from and how they actually crossed over the werewolf and the Frankenstein monster back in the day. They were useful to his point.
And Batman and Superman had cake in the Fortress of Solitude.
Well, again,
Superman had a fucking big ass knife.
If you didn't know that, would you have understood his point? Be honest. If you didn't know that, would this video have made sense?
I'd say it elevated this from a 1 out of 10 to a 2 out of 10.
I knew it. Yeah.
There we go. There we go. It's
and it
going
was because
up already.
of random information. Just because I could walk away saying, "Well, at least I learned something."
Good old Vox, then. Because again, I haven't seen videos from them, so I'm just assuming this is what they do. To be like, oh, good. Videos that have extremely strong research and reasoning. That's gonna be excellent stuff. But yeah, I think it's safe to say that we'll probably stop there. I'm just gonna read out the super chats, and then we'll have ourselves an outro.
Of course.
So go pee if either of you need to. Excellent time.
I think we can survive this.
Mueller is better, Mueller sucks. I'll enjoy EFAPing later on the better channel. That's my second channel, which yes, you guys can find this this podcast will be on there. Sorry but not sorry. It is all along with DCCU. Is that what it's called? Into the DCEU?
The DC Cinematic Universe.
Oh, that's probably it, yeah.
DCCU.
I just thought it was the expanded universe. Whatever. Both are nothing compared to Raimi's Spider-Man or Nolan's Batman. Star Wars Episode 3 had a better build-up than Civil War or Infinity War, but Vox is restarted. Well, thank you for the donation, of course, but I would have to disagree. I think the DCU fits the bill. I'd hate living in these cities with all the Dragon Ball Z shit going on, but Vox will make 9 points in disguise of 1 for that too. I don't even think they brought up, like, the idea that you wouldn't want to be in these universes because destruction happens, but hey. The Hateful Eight is better a Marvel movie than Infinity War. C-Raw, yes. I like Hateful Eight. I think Marvel is...
Hateful Eight.
This is the wiki game of film analysis. I mean, yeah, it looks like he got a lot of stuff from... I could imagine that somebody on their team knew about that stuff. They had like a comic book person that was like, yeah, I can answer this stuff. They had like scans of actual comic, so that was pretty neat.
1939.
Fake brand cigarettes would unify like 25% of film and TV by Vox's logic. Oh yeah, how arbitrary the connections are in that snow globe. It's like, yes, everything is in a giant universe if you're going to be that vague about it.
Next, this character talks about pencils, and pencils exist within this universe.
I remember tricking my mum into believing Nick Fury was the demo man from TF2. Next MCU phase might be Avengers versus X-Men. Yeah, they could do it. We'll have to. That's gonna be a clusterfuck, though.
That would be a clusterfuck, and it would be like, how bad would the X-Men lose?
Oh well, that's the thing, because well, they got the Phoenix though. That's gonna be the next one. I'm assuming she'll die by the end of it, or not. Who knows? We'll find out. In Spider-Man: Homecoming, they're building a Lego Death Star, so I don't see why Marvel would do that. We know Star Wars is a movie in the MCU. Yeah, like I said, I doubt they'll join them up. Unlike Civil War, Dildo Baggins. Excellent. Dildo Saggins is the porn parody, Lord of the G-String. Beautiful. Thank you all so much for those donations. We've had a wonderful little stream. I was gonna say, I will start posting a link to your channel, The Right Opinion. And before you say anything, I'll say that he makes a lot of videos that I actually really like, in terms of, you know, obviously not the one that he made about me and Rags, that's less preferable, but for example, the video you made on the animators, and the, I don't know how to explain this one, but the one about the calendar that was expensive.
Oh, Zoella.
Yeah, that one.
Zoella,
and the one that I obviously watched, you put out recently about Behind the Meme. They're like,
yeah,
they're reasonable breakdowns of what's happened with this particular subject over time, like where it starts, how it develops, what people responded to it with, and let's say the right opinion about it at the end in a sarcastic tone. So consider checking out some videos, and obviously consider subscribing. It's completely up to you. If you want, Tiaro, you can try and sell your channel. Why should they subscribe to you?
I don't know. if you enjoy my content, then definitely drop a subscription. I'm really accessible too. If you want to reach me on Twitter, you can, at The Right Opinion, and Discord as well. I'm trying to be an open person. I'm definitely trying to make the best content I can, and obviously I do appreciate the feedback coming in. So yeah, I just gotta see what you think. Obviously, if you don't like my content, I wouldn't expect you to subscribe. But you know, give it a check out. Tell me what you think. I do try and mix it up from the normal commentary genre, which is people just like spitballing opinions, and actually try and give them an analytical look and say, well, let's look at the facts, and then let's see what we can do.
And then of course my co-host is Rags, which you guys are probably more than aware of, and you'll find his link in the description. He'll be coming out with a video soon, I hope, right, Rags?
I think actually just a second ago. Oh yeah, 20 minutes ago, I just got the final, finalized, finished assets, new art stuff for the channel. While we were streaming, that just got sent to me. But here's the kicker. Let's see, it's the 26th. On the 30th, like at 7 in the morning on the 30th, I leave to catch a plane, because I'll be going to the Grand Canyon until November 7th. So I'll be gone during that time. I'm hiking across the Grand Canyon.
So you're going to be on the same upload schedule as me then, is it?
Unfortunately, I thought I got this art stuff back pretty soon, but what I can do is I'm actually about to go hiking about an hour and a half, 2 hours, which is why I said I had to leave at 5 to do practice for that. But tonight, what I can do is I can put all the art assets together, and maybe I can get something hammered out here. But I am not certain. So, but don't worry, I've got all this stuff ready, and that's kind of what I was waiting for. Took a little break, did a little rebrand of sorts. Not a rebrand, but a refresh. But yeah, I've been saving links on stuff to reply to. But do not you worry. There just might be kind of a extra delay because of this trip I have to take really soon.
Fair enough.
That's just an unfortunate coinkydink.
I am still working on the TFA series. I've put there's an update I put up yesterday on the Patreon if you want some sort of more detailed breakdowns, and they're not. You don't have to pay for them; they're all there available. It's just so that I don't have to keep sending them in different places and stuff. And of course, if you want to see this whole podcast, then you'll be able to find it on my second channel, which I just copied that link. I'm assuming that's my second channel. I hope it is. Either way, thank you all for watching, and of course the generous donations, and much respect, Mr. TRO, for coming on. I appreciate the clarification and the effort.
I appreciate the discussion as always, and I hope it's given some sort of closure to the situation.
Yeah, I think so. Certainly, myself, I would say, and hopefully for the fans in that old chat. Chat's often very reasonable, so it's.
Yeah,
sure
I think it's just it's with Quentin they have their biggest,
which is probably never going to be resolved, but
which is probably never going to be resolved. But I will have no problem memeing him into the future.
But yeah, so that's about it. Thank you all for giving your attention, and you guys for responding and talking for the videos. We'll see you next week. No idea exactly when. Me and Rags will figure out something with somebody.
Tune in next time for episode 11, the standalone sequel. It's episode 10 of Every Frame of Pause. Oh, pause.
No. Oh wait, yeah, that is it.
Fuck, Every frame of pause. Yeah, boy.
Goodbye.